Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I know we have hot button topics that we are discussing. And I just appreciate seeing all of your faces. Before we kick it off, I did want to make mention that this is our final week of school. So congratulations to all of our students, and especially our seniors. They have been here through the long haul, and getting through this year is no feat. So congratulations, and I hope that you all enjoy graduation ceremonies, which will be on the field, hopefully, this Thursday at 7 p.m. Our rain site will be 10th Street Auditorium. Likewise, I would also like to say Happy Pride Month to all. And without further ado, we will be discussing several key pieces that I'm assuming that brings most of the community here this evening, which is our budget. We had our proposed budget last month, which is not indicative of our complete and final budget, rather than it is what the administration is at least proposing as a minimum budget. And next month, or next week, I should say, on June 8th, we will be voting on our final budget. We are talking about the capital improvements as well. So yeah, I will turn it over to Dr. English for his remarks, and then we will move forward. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for talking about graduation. Can't wait for the seniors to graduate. If you haven't been to a graduation, please come. It's wonderful. It's celebratory. It's joyous. Come see our students graduate. I also just wanted to mention a couple other athletic accolades. One, our track and field team competed at the PIAA state championship. Recently, Jack Reynolds threw 141 feet, 11 inches in discus. He entered the state competition seated 23rd, and his throw of 41.11 earned him a top 20 finish, specifically 18th place. Our 1600 relay team clocked a time of 3:33.11 of Trenton Johnson, Carter Baldwin, Brady Longstreth, and Prince Govan, which advanced them to a top 25 finish in the state, placing 23rd. And finally, Ashton Saunders achieved an impressive season's best time of 1:59.81 in the 800, rising from his initial seed of 29th to secure a top 20 finish, 19th place in the PIAA. Secondly, our mighty Riverview baseball team with no seniors advanced to the first round of the PIAA championship bracket, losing a hard-fought battle today with Mercyhurst Prep. Congratulations to all of our students. Finally, love it. I hope to continue with the applause all night long. Finally, we will be discussing, as Mr. Paris said, the budget and possibly adding some spaces. These discussions have ensued since October 2024 as a part of our multi-year master planning process. As a commission steward of the district, I just want to remind everyone it's my responsibility to complete a needs assessment, determine misalignment between our spaces and programs, provide a detailed plan of how to ameliorate those issues. And we do take that responsibility seriously. We also understand differing opinions regarding timing, design choices, financing, taxes, etc. Those are all very important discussions, and we thank you for being here to have those discussions. At the same time, however, the facility challenges we've outlined are here and will remain until a comprehensive solution is implemented. Ultimately, it's our responsibility to sort of identify needs, solutions, and to position the district financially, consider realistic options. I commend the administration and the board for having this discussion. I also commend the community for being engaged in these discussions. Tonight, we'll hear from Ms. Henry and Ms. Lubert to lay out the short and long-term financial implications to the best of our ability to assist in the board considering options and outcomes. We're looking forward to a respectful and meaningful conversation, because at the end of this is our students who are amazing here at Riverview and rely on us to be our very best and to advocate on their behalf. And we have some of the best students in the Commonwealth, I think. And that's something I know we can all agree on tonight. So thank you for being here and looking forward to tonight.
The microphone's working.
It's very hard to
So-
hear back here.
Sorry, so board members, please project. The microphones are unfortunately tied to our audio system for the online recordings. So that's kind of why you are not hearing them throughout. So board members, I just ask that you remember to project. Sorry about that. Good, perfect. We are going to head into our presentations. Our first presentation will be by Miss Sheila Lubert. She will give the final.
Alicia.
Oh, okay. Actually, Alicia is going to go first. That is the Managing Director for PNC Capital Markets. She will be doing a bond presentation for us. If you, and before you get started, sorry. If you are here from the community, I would also ask that you sign in. There is a sign in at the back of the room, right on the corner there as you're entering in the library. Please make sure that you sign in, especially if you are coming up for public comment. Okay?
Thank you.
Alicia, you can take it away.
Is this where you'd like me to stand? I
Yeah.
apologize for having my back, folks.
You can kind of,
She can turn.
You can do it.
Is the light on?
is the light on?
It is now.
Okay.
Okay. Let me know if I need to project, and I obviously don't want to break anyone's eardrums. That's zooming in. But good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the school board. As the board president said, my name is Alicia Henry. I work for PNC Capital Markets, and I have served as the district's investment banker as it pertains to debt and your bond issues for nearly 20 years. And I've been asked here tonight to go through some general details of a bond issue and share what I can see in the market and give my best to tell you what may lie ahead. So does everyone have a paper copy in front of them?
So,
No.
I didn't pass them down, sorry. You just got them all.
Okay. If you could please flip past the front cover and take yourself to page 1. Sadly, I'm going to need these on occasion. I thought it'd be best to start where the district sits with its existing debt service. In the top, it shows your series by name. It shows the original par, and par is just a fancy word for principal for bond issues. That's the amount that was originally taken out. The outstanding balance is what the district owes as of today, which is $18,825,000. The final maturity is the last payment date. And with bonds, there are call features in which you can refinance the bonds. And as of August 15th of 2025, all of your debt is currently refinanceable other than the very small 2010 Bs that were issued non-call. But your average weighted coupons are all below market, and the bonds that I did in 2020 are very low interest rates, and we will likely never disturb those at the very nice 2.5% interest rate. And then I always like to do a graph because not everybody likes numbers, but below is a bar chart of the debt service of all 4 bond issues. And your debt service is fairly level out to the steep drop off in 2044 of roughly $1,350,000 of an annual debt service. Any questions on your existing debt? Moving forward, page 2, I want to hit some qualitative points about bond issues. The district is exploring options to fund possible capital projects, and tax-exempt general obligation bonds provide the most flexible, cost-effective financing option. Bond issues do allow you to wrap around your existing debt service, and that minimizes the immediate budgetary impact for financings. And if you issue $10 million or less in a calendar year, not a fiscal year, but your calendar year, you do get advantageous refunding features, meaning if you issue bonds in 2026, those bonds will become refinanceable in 2031. And the bond rating of the district maintains a very good A+ underlying rating by Standard & Poor's that was recently reviewed in just this past February. So you should be very proud of your very good bond rating. I think something to talk about when I'm talking about debt is you have very good leverage ratios as well. If you look at your annual debt service payment to your annual revenues, it currently sits at a 4.58%. The average is usually 8 to 10% for any school district. And if you look forward as a pro forma, even if the district was to borrow the $10 million, that ratio stays at a 6.3%. The funding of a bond issue takes anywhere from 75 to 90 days. And federal tax law requires a commitment to spend 5% of the bond proceeds in 6 months and 85% in 3 years from the date of closing. Now, page 3, I've been running pro forma numbers with the administration for some time. And I'm sure it's no surprise that with the Iranian conflict, I have experienced a great amount of volatility since that happened in February and March. So please know that these numbers before you are buffered by a full 0.5%, which equates to 50 basis points. And I do that because I never want to come here and give you market numbers. I want to give you numbers that are tempered in a way where I believe it could handle the volatility that the market could experience. So if you could start with the debt service impact, and if you remember from the bar chart, your existing debt service is around that $1,350,000. And that goes out to 2043, as I mentioned, with a step down in 2044. So what a wraparound means is the new proposed 26 debt service. You can see if we could skip past 2027, I'll explain why that's a shorter payment. But in 2028, at the buffered 0.5% interest rates, you're at roughly $516,000 of a budgetary impact. And that is essentially an interest-only bond amortization until 2043. If you can see, that number is very static. In 2044, that inches up a bit and wraps around your existing debt service. And this bond fully amortizes between 2044 and 2050. My job is I have to sell bonds in a legal manner, which means when I'm done with a bond issue, the bond issue in the green column must be level or decreasing. My debt service is not allowed to increase or spike in future years. The fiscal year 2027 is a proportionate share of a fiscal year of interest, so that would depend on when we close or if we close. What I'd also like to point out, in fiscal year 32, these bonds would become refinanceable. So these bonds are fixed rate with no risk to the district, but you will have many opportunities throughout this bond to lower the cost of your interest if interest rates would be lower at that time. Page 4, again, for my people who don't like numbers, and there always is. This is a bar chart that carefully illustrates the wraparound. So the dark blue is your existing debt service at the $1.3 million, and the new debt service wraps around where you see the majority of the principal amortization, which happens from 2044 to 2050. That was a lot of information. Before I get to the market, would anybody like to ask any specific questions about the fiscal part of my presentation? Okay.
Not one question.
And page 5 is a market update that I don't think will be surprising to anyone. But right now, the inflationary pressures are what are compelling people to make certain decisions. The Federal Reserve rate expectations have dramatically shifted from projecting multiple cuts later in this year And since the Iranian conflict, even since when I finalized this presentation with Sheila on Friday, the futures market was currently pricing in a rate hike in December at 56%. That is now risen to 85% with 100% of a rate hike chance by January. Please know that everything right now is independent of our domestic economics and is so tightly wound to the Strait of Hormuz being open and the inflationary pressures that causes by that being closed. And that happened today. I'm sure everyone heard that negotiations are off. So this percentage changes every time that comes up for discussion. We still have a robust market. We're going to have exceed records of issuance, so there is no issues with supply. And with that,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay, so just to make sure I'm understanding you, we currently owe $18 million in debt, which will be paid off in 2043.
20, yes,
And then if we do the additional bond for 10 million, that'll push the payoff date to 2050.
Correct.
Is that, okay,
that's correct.
thank you.
You're welcome. And as interest rates go up and down, if I could take you back to page 3, you'll see that the 2050 is a smaller payment. And when I'm wrapping as interest rates, if they were to go down, there would be less bonds I would have to put in 2050. But I can say with 100% certainty, I would be extending the debt to 2049.
The way that the, sorry, yeah. The way that the, market is going currently, this would be the highest rate that we've ever had for bonds.
That's correct.
And I don't know that this is so much a question for you, but more for my administration, is when we were initially talking about this, we were talking 430 to 500,000 roughly payments a month, but now we're up to 515. Or payments per year, sorry.
Yes, and I could maybe answer that in some way.
Yeah.
My best guess is that my 50 basis points of buffer is costing you about $15,000 to $16,000 a year. If I could sell bonds today, it's probably right at a 5%. And I would say we started running numbers in the fall, and we had a really good market until the beginning of this conflict. The best market that I have had in a few years. And this is what I feel is very unfortunate. I don't think with anybody could blame me for saying I'm very uncertain about what is going to happen. And so my job here is just to give you all the advice and answer questions to the best of my ability. And, you know, the risks are that you wait and this conflict goes on longer and the rate hikes do happen. And does it push your project costs higher? Or do we think some political pressures will happen and the Iranian conflict will end and there'll be a better market? That is, I'm sad to say, I can't tell you. But my job is to tell you those are the two conflicting factors that I'm talking about. Thank you.
Can I ask, just a few more follow-ups?
Please.
I think one of them would be, right, I don't know if you've seen our school's budget. So I guess I don't know if this would be the right question for her. Has she been provided access to our accounts to see like our budget over the last several years, our projected and things like that?
Alicia has seen Alicia has seen the data that I'm going to present tonight.
Okay.
That's
But I don't, please know that I only monitor your debt. I am not involved in all your other operational accounts, so I can't speak to maybe the the details of your budget if that's what you're thinking. Maybe I could.
Gotcha. So then I will refrain from the one question, but I will still ask this. I guess if a borrower were coming to you to ask to borrow additional monies, our district currently has at least 2 serious bonds that we're paying on. And so we kind of treat this, and we've talked about this in our discussions as almost, right, a mortgage on your home. Yeah, for me personally, I don't think it would be financially smart to take out 3 mortgages on a home. But I guess I'm putting that back on someone who's in your capacity, right, in doing this every day. Why would it be advantageous for the district to take out another bond?
You were
On our
talking about the
property.
debt, the debt ratio number would be the number, I think that answers the question, right? We're at you said 4 and change,
What I can
But we-
tell you is
We
that
won't be if we take out money from our capital reserves.
that would jump to 6 and change. While, yeah, something along.
what I can tell you, this is a global ratio that Standard and Poor's and Moody's both use. I don't ever want to talk about needs or wants. I'm only here to provide financial advice. And what I can tell you is, depending on how many buildings you maintain, you've got to think about taking care of that many buildings. So it's, say you have 3 homes, it would be normal to have a bond issue for each building to maintain it. But, so the only thing I can tell you, and then I would tell you to lean on the administration to tell you how this debt fits into the budget, is the ratio, the leverage ratio. I work with districts from a BBB rating to a AA rating, and that is largely due to, one, your median housing income, your assessed values. I have districts that have a $12 million debt payment, but the one thing that matters is your leverage. Are you over levered? No. 1.356 divided by 29.6 is your general fund budget, is 4.58%. If you borrow another $10 million and your average payment goes to 1,858,000, you divide that by 29.6, that's 6.3. Now, if you have operational costs and things that are different that puts this ratio in a way that I don't understand, all I know that 8 to 10% is good. So your leverage ratio is very good.
Very low leveraged. When you look at Allegheny County and similar schools, there's only 3 that are leveraged less than us. Wilkinsburg, Duquesne, and Cornell. And then you expand it to Westmoreland and Butler, there's only 1 other school that's leveraged less than us.
I don't know that I would want to compare us to Duquesne.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's a debt ratio.
Right.
But you look at like Brentwood that we just talked about today, Brentwood's at 9%. Avonworth's at 10%, Allegheny Valley's at 14%. So a lot of the similar sized schools have much higher debt ratios. Not saying that's a good or bad thing, just in comparison.
I get that, but I'm saying in comparison to upkeep, right? We just had to pay how much on all these repairs, right? And we keep we're always going to have things that break down.
Sure.
We just had the asbestos problem that we had, or not asbestos, but the mold problem, right? That we had to get rid of. Like, I think that we're just always going to have continuous problems. So I guess the fear is you take that money out, right? We've always been told, when we are talking about tax increases, that not to dip into our reserves to pay for, budget or funding cliffs and things like that. But now we are being told to take out of there. It just seems, I don't know, a little bit shifty.
Let's wait for
Um,
that.
Yeah, why don't we move to the next presentation and then I have more questions.
I just mean pause that
Yeah,
for the
let's-
next.
Yeah, that's why I said, yeah. Thank
No,
you,
I'm
sorry.
happy. If you'd like me to stay through Sheila's presentation, I'm happy to stay and,
I think,
yeah.
I think the bond piece was pretty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, yes. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Classes on this one, so I should see if it was- yes, that's right.
I'm gonna apologize also for having my back to everyone.
Make sure you speak loudly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mrs. Getz,
Close to two.
there she is.
I thought it was very.
So I'm bringing us to our first PowerPoint page of the proposed final general fund budget, which includes a 0.3294 millage increase of the allowable 0.8925, which brings our proposed general fund budget that you approved last month to $29,600,000. Next slide, please. This is the 26-27 Act One index, which is 3.5%, and the estimated millage increase and what that means to a homeowner based on an assessed home value of $150,000, $190,000, which is our average price of average cost of a home in the district, or $350,000. Next slide, please.
Correct. Hang on.
It crashed.
Well, it's stuck on there. You want to maybe at least tell people what the assessed annual increase would be
Sure.
for each of those levels.
Oh.
That was enlightening to me when I first saw it.
It's gone now.
Oh.
I'm in quadruple print there. Here's the first page. We back? Okay. All right. So, okay, so let's go back to the last one. Kim, thank you. So, based on $150,000 assessed value of a home, currently with the millage increase that was approved, that increase equates to $49.41 for the home. Assessed value of $190,000 equates to $62.59 of an increase. That's an estimated annual increase. And for a home assessed at $350,000, that cost is $115.29. So the median assessment on all taxable properties is a little under $190,000. And the assessment on just farmstead properties, which are homes that individuals in the district live in, they're not rental properties, that's $150,300. If taken to the index, those increases would equate to $133.88, $169.58, or $312.38 annually. Next slide, please. So this is a slide that I've prepared based on the proposed increase and the taxable year. You'll see the red line across. The first line is what you have already approved as a millage increase, which takes us to $29,600,000 budget. The next line after that is the Act One index increase, which would increase that another $401,808. If a bond issue was approved, the first bond issue, the proposed bond issue payment for the 26-27 school year would be a portion, as Alicia stated, of the interest due for the remainder of the year, assuming that closed in the fall. In November, that would be $127,756 of a payment. And that net differential would be a little over $274,000 that we could put into the fund balance to cover future years of that bond issue. Now, moving forward, not taking the first row is not taking into account any assessment increase that is year to year. The second row is an assessed value increase, which I have prepared down below. I placed a $9 million, this district historically has had assessment increases over the years. I have estimated a $9 million assessed value increase, which is below the previous 6-year average. And I've included that in my calculations here, but you can see from the 2021-22 school year down to the 25-26 school year, the assessed value increases have been anywhere from about 6 million up to $18.5 million. Now, if you take into account that increase, that's the second row up top, and that shows the proposed bond issue payment. I've taken a net retirement savings. We do know that we have 4 teachers retiring next year. I'm sorry, supposedly, there are rumblings. How's that? The rumblings. We believe, I do know that for sure, yeah, 2 at least. They told me this year, but it isn't over until they sign their papers. So, and the board approves their retirement, as we know. So the net retirement savings on 4 teachers, which is estimated, is about $250,000 if you take into account hiring that new teacher, paying their insurance, taxes, PSERS, and so forth. I've pulled that out the next 3 years just to show an estimated 2 teachers that are retiring. Our teaching staff is right about my age, anywhere between 55 and 60. So you're going to see a handful of teachers make a decision in the next few years of their retirement. I assume that will be 2 teachers a year, which equates to $125,000. That's an estimated. Salary increases. We are going to be in teachers negotiations. I've taken the current matrix and the current as it stands and equated a percentage of salary increases into those contracts. Additionally, benefit increases, I've equated to about a 7% increase across the board. And I've shown a net differential on the very last row of the upper spreadsheet. So again, our estimated 900 or 9 million in assessed value increases, it could be higher, it could be lower. I went with a below previous 6-year average to show the differential. I kept the 26-27 and the 27-28 in the 4th column on the bottom, the millage rate, assuming that if not assuming, but if the millage was increased to the index this year, the next 2 years, I showed the differential if those 2 years were kept at the same millage rate. And then in the 29-30 school year, there's an estimated Act 1 index. There's a futures estimate that PDE sends out. We assume that the index 5 years ago, when it was 6%, it's dropping down to 3% of an allowable increase of our millage rate.
Sheila, is the net differential stacked? So for example, if it's a 253, thank you, net differential in 27-28, that money would in theory roll into,
That money,
is that factored in, or would it start to stack on top of a 113? A 104, you know what I'm asking? Is it creating more cushion?
it's creating more cushion, yes.
More cushion than
Yes.
highlight, so it's
Yes. Yes,
year to year net differential.
Yes.
You would be banking each year's differential to be able to add to the capital fund or add
Correct.
to wherever. Okay,
yes, sir.
got it. Thank you.
Any other questions before I move to the next slide?
So just for simplicity's sake, you're saying that based off of us increasing to the max index, that we have a net differential, meaning we have a surplus of funds to be rolled into future years, factoring in costs such as retirements, additional teachers, negotiations and salaries. Is that the rest of the projected funds or expenses for the district though?
That is not.
Okay,
I put in the knowns, not the unknowns.
okay.
I wish I had a crystal ball, but I don't.
and I get that, but I guess my fear is, right, and I don't want to be overly critical of our administration, so I want to do this in the most polite way. And I would also ask the community to do that as well when you're up here for public comments. Because I do respect our administration wholeheartedly. I guess my fear though is when we're saying that we can't exactly project for a district that has 3 buildings, about 1,300 students and about 100 employees, right? And I'm being really generous on the last 2 numbers. When we can't project out 3, 4 years, but cities, states are doing it, right? They are creating budgets for hundreds of thousands of employees. It's hard to hear that we aren't able to do that. And I guess, and I know that I know it's harder to do than not, but it's almost like we know that things are increasing in costs, such as utilities or different services that we're having. How are we not projecting, okay, or looking at the raw data that we do have, here's what we spent year after year after year per line item. And then saying, here's what projected increase that looked like in terms of percentage, right? We can go through the entire budget every year to see what things have increased, what things have decreased, to get those percentages, to then run a simple calculation of here's what a projected budget would look like 5 years out, 10 years out.
It has to be that detailed into it. I think you need to look at the larger drivers. Like we had the renegotiation of the transportation fee this year, like things like that. Like those increases are going to be the ones that are really going to crush the budget year over year.
No, I don't disagree with,
Supplies,
I don't disagree with you, but that's what I mean, like
Like, that's
running
what
a
I'm
simple
thinking.
calculation
Yeah.
to see what those percentages look like and changes for each line item.
But I think it's probably
over
only
years.
5 or 6 things that are really driving budget beyond the cost of employees. Right?
No,
So,
but I'm saying,
let's look at like how are those trending over the 5 years? The things that could really kill our budget.
correct, but I'm saying line by line, right? You can go through and you can look at transportation, you can look at facilities, you can look at educational costs, healthcare, retirement, all of those. And so I'm saying like taking the percentage of change in each different line item to then formulate a comprehensive projected budget X amount of years out.
Yeah.
I get that there's going to be things that we're not going to be able to project, but it seems, I don't know, crazy in my mind that we can't do it some way, shape or form. Because what I'm seeing is, and I don't know if everyone else is, but I'm seeing that this is like a funding cliff that we've been talking about for however many years. That we fund this project and we're going to have to come back and continuously ask this community for additional monies to pay for our schools that are that small, that are only serving that many amount of people. I'm not saying that those people don't matter. Those people are some of the most, we are in charge of taking care of those people. But I'm also saying that is the facilities the thing that we really need versus instruction or teachers or something like that? I would argue it's not.
Can we let her finish this and then we'll get into more discussion?
So I
Yes.
will add on to that. I didn't include the percentage. Now, I could go back and do, I hesitate to do 5-year projection or 5-year projections because I would need 10 years of trending data. And right in the middle of our 10 years, we had COVID. So that kind of blows all of our assumptions and estimates out the window. I could take the last 3 years and do that trending. I've done many futures reports in my career, but COVID kind of, and you could really ask any finance director around us that COVID kind of, it's kind of like throwing things up against the wall and seeing what sticks. We get an increase in earned income tax every year. We've placed money into our fund balance because of fluctuating interest rates. We have had some issues with We had the issue with mold. A portion of that was covered by insurance. We had a gas leak here a couple years ago, that was also covered by some of the insurance and some of the capital, but it didn't really affect our general fund, because as you know, for the past 2 years, we've put significant funding into our capital account. So I can go and do that if the board wishes. I can absolutely do my best, but I hesitate to put it in stone, because I just don't know with the trends of the last 3 years, because we were still spending COVID money. So I can back out the federal funds. I can, back out those expenditures, back out those revenues, and see where that trending lies. I will do my best, but it's gonna be a difficult task to show trends for the last 10 years moving forward for 5. So next slide, please. This is the Act 1 index. If the board were to approve that increase in millage, it would take, it would be in 0.8925 millage increase. It would raise our general fund expenditures and raise our revenues up to $30,001,808. Just a quick calculation. And I think the final slide that I have. No, this is the debt of our, nope. This is the debt of our neighbors. I was asked to provide, our neighbors and what their debt ratio is and their estimated remaining capacity based on their estimated borrowing base, which is 3 years of revenues. So I did an estimate of, I went in and took a look at their AFRs and their budgets that they had online. Your calculated debt limit is 225% of what that is. And then your estimated outstanding debt, I did go in and check their AFRs on their outstanding debt. Ours is darkened at the bottom. The estimated remaining capacity that they had left on their calculated debt and the percentage. You can see that Fox Chapel is at about 78%, Allegheny Valley 64%, Plum can borrow up to 40% of that total calculated debt, and we are at almost 70%. I will add, if you wished and we went through with the bond issue, it would take that estimated remaining capacity to about 55%. I did that calculation today. Next slide. So this is an 11-year millage history for Riverview School District. Since 2015-16 to the current year, the district has had allowable increases in millage through the Act 1 index of 9.1734909 mills. Over that same time frame, the district currently, because I did include what you have already approved for this current year, the district has increased millage 3.3832 mills, and they have not raised taxes 5.790209 mills. The estimated funds that were left behind each year is in the next column, and I merely took that assessed value in the current year. I did not roll it into this assessed value of each year, but to give you an idea of the multi-year cost is about $18.5 million over 11 years that this district did not receive. I will finalize by giving you the budget timeline. We did approve the proposed final budget on the 11th. I've been refining budget data. I think we finalized a few new hires, and I'll be making those adjustments to our budget. I've already offered public notice of the intent to adopt the final budget, and we are adopting the final budget a week from today. Do you have any questions?
Just to remind myself and clarify, is it 70% of our budget is
Salaries
and benefits?
Yes.
So when we're talking about how much are we going to have to pay in 5 years, 10 years,
Mhm.
that part of it is pretty well
Baked.
baked. So it's like, there's no surprise that 70% of the budget is going to be our staff and health benefits and
Healthcare went up
Pension.
8, right?
and all those things will go up. So we do have Peasers, you know, all of that.
And you could
It's
ask,
Pretty standard, so like 30% is really the only part that's to
Yeah.
be fluctuating, and like you said, Chris, there's probably 4 or 5 items, like
Hiding that.
hiding in that 30% that would actually change
Based
drastically.
on what step
Like-
rate though? Right? What was the step that we used to bake in those retirements? Because if we baked them in all at step 1 or master's 1,
Yeah, I know, I don't,
Right.
that's not my point, I guess my general point is just when we're talking about what can we project? There's really only like 30% of our budget every year, or every 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, that is like the stuff that can change up and down, whether it's a transportation contract or whether it's a building
Contractual
thing, or, you know, whatever might come up. 70% is our staff, it's our people, it's the healthcare benefits, all the things that we really don't, that doesn't change. I mean, obviously slightly if we have a cheap,
Right.
lesser, more, you know, level teacher, healthcare going up, et cetera. But like that part of it really doesn't change. And that's well over half.
did that net differential include the 515,000 that we would be paying back to the
Yes.
bond each time
yes,
too?
the fourth row over on top. The red, that is 127,000, which is the estimated first bond payment if we closed in November. And then the next 4 lines down are the $515,900, and those are the estimated bond payments. I will say, and you could ask all the administrators in the back of the room, when we meet for budget, their supplies budget, I send an email out every year. I say, move things around as you will, but please don't ask for increases.
Can you go back to the page, like what the millage increase means to the homeowner?
I'm sorry,
What the millage increase means to the homeowner, how do you break out?
sure can.
Thank you.
So. Yes, that one.
All right, so what we're looking at right now is the 0.89 millage increase.
No,
right?
what we
Is that
have
you're
right now is the 0.3294 is what the board has already approved,
Okay,
which equates to either a $49.41 increase, a $62.59 increase, or $115.29 increase.
okay, but for the improvements that we're gonna make, that were requested for the middle school, high school, would that?
That would be the bottom line on each one of those sections, which would be $133.88, $169.58, or $312.38.
Okay, so for a homeowner, the assessed value is $150,000. That will be $133,
Yes.
in an increase.
The increase equates to 0.8925. Here's an easy way to talk about it. Every $1,000 of your home's assessed value is multiplied by 89 cents. That's the estimated increase. So if you have an assessed value of a home that's $100,000,
Mhm.
you take that times 0.8925, that 89 cents. Currently, our millage this current year is 25.5. So your assessed value is per 1,000 of your assessed value times $25.50.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheila, quick question on the final budget, now that we know the cost of the teachers that you hired. Did those come in above or below what we were?
They are all over the board, Mr.
I
Kennard.
guess like in aggregate, like.
Yeah,
we had a
I-
large number where we thought.
I think we're waiting for one more. I just got 4 of the teachers today. I have not placed those calculations in. So that's tomorrow. In my head, I have a schedule to follow.
I have 2 comments. Yeah, good. Just going back to both of the points raised about the 70-30, right? And then the assumption-based planning that Antonio essentially alluded to. I do think it's a good exercise out of that 30% to take the 5 biggest factors in there and do some sort of sensitivity, whether or not you think it's, and I get the COVID factor sort of screwing up the 10 years.
Mhm.
But if there's a 4% and a 6% and an 8% increase you want to throw in there to see what that does to the net benefit, it'd just be good to then apply that sensitivity and say, there's a possibility where we're negative again,
Mhm.
just so that we can visualize that. That was number one. Number two, and I'll be repetitive, slide 7, the one that had the 11-year history.
The last, yeah, that one.
So I think I mentioned this in one of the study sessions, maybe it was last month or whatever, but the issue potentially why there's so many people in the room today, right, is that this is proposing 5 increases. I know they're not full increases, but 5 increases in 5 years. Am I capturing that right?
Correct.
And I think the phrase that I've used was death by 1,000 paper cuts. And that's technically what that is, because in essence, we certainly could have done 3 tax increases, potentially 2, and not have to increase every single year for 5 years. And I just want to ensure when we have this conversation, it's a similar type of conversation, because that isn't the full, right? It's the 0.39, 0.329 is the full right, so that when we're having a conversation or looking at this 3 years down the road, we're not talking about 8 years of successive tax increases. To me, that's super important.
Yeah.
Whether or not, again, it's a full one here, so that we're sitting here in 3 years saying, look, that net benefit, right? They're both linked, both those points are linked. If there's cushion in this component that can fuel excess revenue, right, if you will, and that we're not sitting here having a conversation about tax increase in next year and the year after, I'm more supportive of that, but I think that death by 1,000 paper cuts is tough to swallow.
And I will tell you, I'm of the age that prior to the Act One index coming into play, I was merely an assistant business manager at a Beaver County school. And my business manager was recommending a 5 mil tax increase. And many people showed up to the board meeting, and nothing happened for 5 years. There wasn't a tax increase for 5 years. That's how old I am. Act One's been in place, and at that point in time, I didn't know, that was back in the 90s. So I didn't know how schools were funded at that point. But back then, you raised millage by an astronomical number. It really hurt taxpayers, but then it was done for years. And I never quite understood that, but
Yeah, I was just gonna echo what Kareem was saying. It's like just saying raising taxes 5 years, 8 years, whatever. It's not necessarily that it was the same percentage every year. Like raising 1.25 is not the same as raising 3.5, is not the same as raising 2, so it's,
But what Kareem is saying is that if we had raised it higher years before, that the projected increase from that year alone would have generated revenue for
Right,
plenty
so-
of years to come.
right. So what I'm saying is like a matter of like being concerned about a raise of taxes several years in a row, whatever it is. But it's like, well, if only a 1% raise is only gonna get you so far, 3 to 5 years in a row. If it takes raising it to 2.5 or 3 1 year, okay, then that actually gives you a little bit more to show, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like you're not it's not apples to apples is what I'm saying, like raising taxes in a blanket way is not always gonna get you the same result. If it's a 1% or if it's a 3%, that's a very different situation, like year to year.
But the sad part is the board has already done the first 4 raises, right? We can't take those back.
But not to the highest index.
No, they weren't the
Only one was close.
Only one was close to the highest.
But again,
That's kind of.
we've done the 4 raises already. So you're correct, not to the max, but that's the issue. I want to ask 2 other pieces too, and this is kind of like diverting the conversation slightly. The 18% contingency fund for unforeseen/emergency funds that isn't included in the 10.9 or the 10.2. Where are we factoring that cost in, right? Because if we're at 10.9 for the project total, that's 1.9 for an 18% contingency fee that's not included. And then if we're at 10.2 million then that's 1.8. So I'm like, where are we getting that extra 2 million? For the,
Yeah, I think we talked about that the last meeting. We have
Capital,
capital fund, and Sheila, what's
the
the,
capital account,
what's the total of the capital account right now?
close to 5 million,
5 million. We thought we could dedicate like 3 million of that,
2 or 3, yeah.
2 to 3.
so was that the 2 to 4 conversation that we were having previously? Was we were dedicating those allocated or those funds to be our emergency funds? Gotcha.
Well, the emergency funds are the 8%. These are the
Right.
capital reserve funds. This is a part of our 5 to 10-year projection for capital improvements. The senior high school auditorium has been on that list for, quite some time. But we did reach out, based on our last conversation to our auditor to sort of discuss, you had asked what's a healthy amount to be in there. Since this is such a big project, we think, he didn't give us an estimate.
He didn't give me a percentage. He
Yeah,
wasn't,
there's
he
so many
wasn't willing.
unknowns in terms of like, state, there's a lot of unknowns in terms of monies coming in. But we estimate that you want to keep at least 2 million for ongoing capital reserve projects, moving forward. Currently, we don't have a lot of big ticket items on that list. We did talk about the other 2 projects in the future, which is improvements to the unified arts classes, and improvements possibly to the locker room structure, and down the line, possibly some improvements to the elementary libraries to make them a little more versatile and functional. That being said, I think that we can save money the way we have judiciously here and could possibly just pay for that as we go. Those aren't things that we would need a bond for. That's not a big ticket item.
Additionally, if this will be a bank qualified bond issue if it moved forward. In 5 years, we could potentially do a repurchase agreement of some sort. I know at my previous district, we did a repurchase agreement with one of our bonds and I was able to renovate the entire gymnasium. So you have the option of rolling it in to reduce your payments or taking the money and utilizing it.
Is it worrisome though that our auditor wouldn't give us projected percentages?
It's based on your capital plan. So he could say 1%, he could say 2%, but if he doesn't know what your capital plan is, then he can't really.
In today's discussion, are we reviewing, just for one last time, the expense of the proposal set in the agenda? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
I just had a quick question. So I'm not on. How much do we tend to budget per year towards like capital improvements? Like, do we have like a standard, we tend to shove $400,000 in this account? Or is it just when there's extra money?
That's normally where we put it. We have a fund balance that cannot go over 8%.
Right,
We have an assigned fund balance.
but that's not capital improvements, that's separate,
And then we take the rest of it and put it into capital. Yes.
right? How much does that tend to be on a yearly basis?
For the past 2 years, it's been around $2 million a year.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's more than I assumed. So if we theoretically say we
Done a
all
really good
say,
job of saying
we
no.
love the idea of high school's expansion, but we can save $4 million in 2 years,
Mhm.
essentially.
Yes, sir.
So would we potentially maybe want to kick this down the road 2 years?
Also,
and say, hey, we have
like we received federal funding and things like that. that we
Yeah, there
got.
were some
Yeah.
COVID monies. We also did better than expected on some of our interest on.
Well, at one point we had like a windfall from an insurance payment.
We had a windfall.
Yes, that was
Insurance
the
payment.
Got it.
that we had.
So I wouldn't say year to year.
Yeah, we can't actually count on
million.
2 million. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that seems
yeah.
more than I thought.
Don't hold me to that, please.
When we have overages, we put them into the capital reserves for future projects. As you know, we are renovating the high school
Cafeteria.
kitchen.
Right, sure.
And we're paying for that out of
windows at
capital.
Burner are current
Yes.
this summer.
If that is my other big question too. The windows on this projected thing, I'm just gonna call it a thing for now. Are those like bulletproof and stuff? We just spent all this money on all these security updates and stuff. And then to get a rendering that has all windows.
Yep.
Yet we just redid the cafeteria to get rid of the windows that used to be there. I mean, I would sit there and look out at study hall all the time because you didn't want to look inward at your homework or whatever here. So, right, we took those away and then we are doing that on the front. But what is our security risk there? Or do we have projected values of what bulletproof windows would cost and stuff?
That was on Draw's presentation a couple months ago. They did projections of what the bids came in at. I don't have that on me currently, but
Yeah.
I can
So it's
pull it
baked
up.
in the 10.9 and the 10.2, or it's in addition to those.
The
No,
current,
that
the current drawings, the preliminary estimates, now, there's a lot more to do. I mean, we have environmental surveys and other things where we're really kind of narrowing in and figuring out what those costs are going to be. But in terms of the preliminary numbers that he provided, 10.2 to 10.9 would include all of those things. Keep in mind also that the front of the building in those drawings, and the drawings can change. I mean, there's still community input that we have to oversee. There's still more meetings that we have to have with staff to make sure that, you know, that those plans are finalized. Those are preliminary renderings and they are subject to change. But also keep in mind that in those drawings, the front of that drawing is a lobby area where that's closed off during the school day.
We still don't want them to not be bulletproof.
Well, I think they are, yeah, they would be bulletproof, of course.
So phase one includes the multipurpose assembly performance space, the administration security improvements at the high school, counseling student center renovations, and the orchestra room, fitness space, and team storage areas, as well as the windows.
I'm really confused, sorry. You said that the front area is not gonna be used during the school day?
Yeah, that front area is a lobby, essentially, similar to 10th Street in the front. You know, you need a place for people to come out.
Oh, you mean like in the main office, the office area, the waiting area?
Not the vestibule. like
No,
when you
not the
walk into
vestibule,
10th Street,
that's just for
right
the,
outside the auditorium.
that's just for the larger group instruction area.
That sounds crazy to me that we're not gonna use this space that we're spending $10 million to make, right?
Okay,
That's a large space. I mean, I know that there's still input to make, right?
yeah.
But again, we're talking about a really large purchase and it goes back to the conversation of we're asking our community to fund said really large project. So when we're asking these questions, I know it's hard for the administration and I get it, but at the same time, that's why all these people are here, right? They're here because this is a really hard conversation for everyone. And so that's why I'm asking that.
So going back to, I like what Mike was raising about the $2 million. In my mind, I'm thinking instead of A or B, like do it now and then have these payments, or like risk higher cost and do it later, but have that money. Is there a third kind of option where we could potentially move on this project now to get the lower rates and kick back some of the extra money sooner to pay it off sooner? Is that?
So if it's bank qualified, we can only, you have to wait 5 years. Well, no, I mean,
Is there a,
There's no
if-
benefit.
there's no benefit to
I don't
You
think there would be.
No, you can stockpile money and say literally in 5 years, you haven't
You don't
paid
get
any principal. If
fined
you
for
have
paying
$2
off.
million that you want to redeem those bonds and lower the payment, you can do that.
But the bond percentage too, we're also thinking that it in 5 years, it decreases.
I think not in the model, though. The model doesn't have it decreasing in the 5 year.
No.
No, what I
Yeah,
propose
yeah.
is.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
that'd
saying
be
like,
ideal.
we're talking about hoping that the
Yeah,
right, the 515 decreases over after the 5 years.
Yeah.
And that we can finance, but
yeah, provides us a little more gravy.
Right.
If that happens.
And remember, if you do go through and approve the bond issue, that money will be placed into a Pliget municipal account that will also gain interest. So the interest on 9.5 is
Is that factored in?
even at 3%. No, I did not factor in the interest on
We're
9,
doing the assumption component, that it might be good to factor that in as a plus.
like a 3% rate.
And can I also ask? Can we also, and I don't know if we can discuss this now or then, alternative funding? The sources that we've looked into for alternative funding. Because I think that that's a major conversation that needs to be had, right? It can't, like, if we're going to ask the community to fund our instruction and stuff like that, and or our teacher salaries and stuff like that, we also then need to be looking at where we can save costs. And that is alternative funding sources. That's not our community as well. And so I guess my question is, what kind of sources have we investigated? Are there any that we've tapped into or not? And if not, how long can we wait before losing that 5% interest rate? To see if those funding sources come in, become available, et cetera.
I could maybe answer that from a bond perspective. I like the fact that you're not borrowing the whole project amount. You're going to put district dollars in from your capital reserve. So I will urge you to go after grants and look for other ways to pay for this project. Because like, one of the board members mentioned, you can keep the monies in year 5. We can pay off the bonds if those things don't come to fruition.
I think it's a member of the community that's gonna raise up here today and put some money in.
I think there's definitely possibilities for grants or sponsorships or just things, but Antonio, I don't feel like we would know that, like, you know, soon to be able to, I mean, you could potentially like surmise, like, oh, we could get someone to pony up naming rights for the auditorium, or we could get somebody to fund something, you know, like grants or, you know, whatever. It's not that those things wouldn't be, I think to me, that's assumed to be part of like the plan, but.
We just haven't heard that. yet.
Oh, right, but
But
I'm
usually
saying. I don't
those
know
are
if we would
secure.
estimate that.
Those kinds of contracts and those kinds of discussions have been had and are secured before a final project usually comes for approval before a board.
It could be an interesting committee.
Right, like, I'm worried that we had all these people that just went to the.
If somebody doesn't really know what it even looks like yet, I mean, it's not like, you know what I mean? It's not like we finalized.
Well, no,
all
but they
the
have
plans.
input then, right? The people who donate and put their names on buildings and on spaces have input throughout all developments or all stages of development. And so
Depending on
it usually,
what they put in.
right, and it usually does start at the beginning. So that's why I'm kind of like, if we haven't done that, I think we're still at the drawing board then, in my mind.
I don't feel like that prevents us from like making plans though. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I think it's part of it, but like, I don't.
I agree. I'm a big fan of that, but I agree. I don't think it stops the plan. I actually think about it. I know I've said this also before, but the number was what, 10 million plus an 18% contingency? I think the negotiation needs to be, it's 10 million, period. It can't be, that's an extra $2 million.
But then we
So that-
set ourselves up for a
No.
funding cliff if we don't.
No. So you would still take out, well, first of all, you could take out a lower number. Perspective, you could do 8 and still take the 2 out of the capital fund. But we design it, we sort of value engineer the space to be at 8 million.
But the 10 is not also considering that 18%.
Correct.
contingency.
That's what
It's
he's
coming,
saying.
it's coming out of our pocket though,
He's saying,
right? The 10 million is covered.
So then we're taking 4 million out of our pocket then. We're taking the 18%, we're taking 2 to cover
The two is,
the other.
No, he's
Yeah,
saying
it was
10, 10 with the 2 as a contingency.
yeah, and I'm saying,
Contingent.
yeah, so
Contract.
that you're
Yeah,
gonna raise
exactly.
up to 2 million
A
some
fixed
other
rate
way,
contract.
grants, sponsorships, whatever.
the design of the
If
space,
you wanna estimate something.
yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
got you.
you estimate it like, no, we're not.
Like, this is what we can afford, right? It's just like if you're doing something in your house. This is the budget. We got a proposal back. It's got a 20% contingency in there. That's $2 million. It's a lot of money. Right? $2 million, take the bond number down from 10 to 8. You can do the math, figure out what that payment is. That helps the net benefit number out on an annual basis. Potentially, again, goes back and thinks about year 2 and year 3 from now, from a no tax increase perspective.
So then can the administration agree to that though? Because they would be the ones that would be taking on that feat, not the board.
I do think the idea of having the additional funding sources, any like matching sponsorships, would make the project more feasible. Like, it could be fleshed out, as you were saying, in a committee. And I mean, we want to be respectful to all of our community members and taxpayers and show that, you know, we're doing our due diligence to balance this current budget the best we can. Especially if we're planning on stealing a bill.
Yeah.
I think as usual, there's no doubt that we will continue to pursue grants and funds and things like that. The problem with those grants and funds is there's stipulations to grants and funding in the future that we may or may not know. So, for instance, you know, one year, the DEDC might be able to give up to $2 million grants that a bunch of people are trying to buy for, and maybe we get 200,000 or 300,000, you know, based on that. But those numbers, certainly, we want to offset the cost as much as possible. In terms of planning a big picture project, those aren't funds we can rely on because we're just not sure, you know, what is going to be available to us. You know, we get alerts all the time from PCCD that, you know, we have the opportunity to do this or do that, and we jump on those as quickly as we can. We did a really nice job of working to try to, you know, get our legislators to give us the maximum amount of grants for the lights. We did a nice job of that between us and the borough. We worked together and we raised all the funds for those lights. But this big picture project, this $10 million project, we're not gonna be able to go out and get $10 million of grant monies to pay for that project. So, you know,
I would disagree, though.
Sponsorships.
And I also want to point out that there's also like no foreseeable future where there's plan con ever again.
I just disagree with that a little bit, though. I want you to be able to finish your statement, but I want to keep it in mind, though, right? Like, that lights project was also 1 million, and we did secure the funding for all of it, right? We did secure grant funding for all of it. So I mean, yes, it comes with contingencies, but I think that's Kareem's point of saying, because someone does have to be responsible at the end of the day here to say, yes, we're going to make sure that we get those funds. So if, you know, Kareem's idea is to play hardball, well, then it does come down to our administration to then be responsible to come up with whatever that caveat is. And so if we're hearing from our administration that you can't do that, or that you don't think you're going to be able to do that, then that's why I wanted to interject before you finish, because I'm like,
okay,
that's what I'm hearing.
okay. So, we could certainly, if the board says, you know, this is the number, we'll work with the architects and come to that number. I'm not saying we can't do that. I'm saying it's hard to rely on grants for future. I would say we have the plan in the background to finance the whole thing. And then we offset the cost as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And of course, we could do bricks and we talked about black tie events and we talked about some other things that we could do to offset the costs.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is for future grants.
Yeah.
There's some unknowns, is all.
And by the way, I'm not necessarily playing hardball. It's more, maybe there's a little bit of hardball. But also there is value engineering that can happen in here, a conversation with the contractors. What does the bid process look like? Do we need an entire facade that's all window? That's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
there are some things all of a sudden, the biggest thing that I think everyone has an issue with, maybe, is a 20% contingency of unknown. And it's like, it's just a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to say, it can't be that contingency. It's gonna be 10 million. What do we need to make it 10 million? Then, of course, alternative sources of income, ultimately the bond to be able to help out. And then all of that is gravy, bless you. So that, again, we're adding to this net benefit. We're able to put money back into whatever we need to from a personnel standpoint and making sure that kids are first.
And I'm also, again, I think I'm taking it from a community aspect of we're saying that the administration has to come up with that 20%, right? Or we're saying that it can only be to a certain point, but it still doesn't alleviate the current effect of raising taxes at all or to the index,
It would
right?
reduce it, yeah, a little bit.
Right, like that's the reality is that it's another increase. We're talking about increases for the district in every way, shape or form. We're talking about how everything for us is increasing, but then that's also for our entire community. The people that also have kids in the district.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
And
Remember,
parents.
we're all taxpayers and parents up here too, for the most part. So
I get it.
we're
It
raising
also,
taxes
it also could
ourselves.
potentially alleviate.
I get it, but
that-
not
that
all of
$5,000.
our situations are reflective of our community members. And so I think that that's the most important to really keep in mind, right? Because there were comments in previous years about just not going to Starbucks each week, right? That not everyone already does to begin with. So we need to keep that perspective in mind, that our realities may not be their realities. So, and when we're looking at a community of tens of thousands, and a small percentage of those tens of thousands are students in our school, we have to also then be mindful, is this the absolute necessary thing that's needed for our district at this current moment?
I think that's a discussion here, right? I mean, that's the discussion.
We're all trying to think of now
Yeah.
and 10, 20 years, 30 years. from now. I mean, that's why we're all here.
Do we have an idea of how much it would cost just to get to the point where we'd actually get, like quotes from construction companies? Like, does it cost us $450,000 to drill a bunch of holes and do surveying and, you know?
So the next stage of the project is approximately, as Dan Hengen said, a $500,000 venture into surveying and understanding what things cost. We could go out to bid and figure out sort of harder preliminary numbers.
That's where I was headed, because like the cafeteria renovations,
Yeah.
it came back too high, and then.
Correct.
I wasn't on the board then, but.
Correct.
From my understanding, the board said, you know what? Let's kick the can down the road a little bit,
Yeah.
right? And then we did, and then we
Yeah.
revised the.
So that
you know,
would be the
plans,
next phase. We would certainly be able to kind of hone in on drawings, as you said, you know, how the drawings look are not as important to me. I mean, I think that's the architect's like first iteration of the drawings based on sort of modern, you know, construction nowadays. They're certainly up for negotiation. The most important thing for me is to try to secure the spaces that we have designated are misalignments between programming and spaces. So those things, you know, how many seats and where they're in, where to put the lobby and how much and what those are all things that will be flushed out in the next stage of planning. Certainly there has to be community input. There has to be more teacher input for those types of things. But, and we can disagree, and I think I said this in the paper, I know that taxes and implications, we do take that seriously. We try to. But I hope that we can all at least agree that, you know, back in 1971, for whatever reason, they didn't put in an auditorium. Our kids don't have a place where they can meet all together at the same time. And I think we can all agree, whether it's now or next year or somewhere down the line, that that long-term issue should probably be fixed for the kids. So we can talk about sort of the idiosyncrasies and of how to do that, but the issue will remain that we just don't have those spaces, and it will always be misaligned to programming.
The reality though is a week from today, we have to vote on whether or not we're just gonna stick with the
Correct.
the increase we've already basically decided on to cover the 2 additional
Yeah.
features, or to take
Yeah.
the index
So,
and go all the way. But, so would we possibly maybe want to just like not go to the index? It's a potential path. Spend some of the money we already have set aside to do all the soil testing, all of that. Get much like firmer quotes, so we have a much better idea. And then next year, hey, you know what? Maybe it's only gonna cost 9 million. You raise taxes then.
absolutely. So, one option is you raise, and Ms. Luber did her best job of sort of
Sure.
prognosticating how those costs are going to be over the next years. Not everything, but as much of the big ticket items as we could provide to you. And you know, there is some net difference where we think we can make that happen, where we're not tying the board to future years of tax.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah, option two. You could put money into the next phase. It's the board taking a step to move into the next phase. We have harder numbers and we have additional discussions over the course of the year to figure that out. You don't raise it at all this year, knowing that there's a high likelihood. I'm sure Alicia would tell you that we're going to have, the project will cost more in the next year, and the money that we save, the money that you save on the interest on our capital will not, the money for costs will certainly outpace the money that we're gonna get in interest. Can we say that with pretty good certainty, Alicia?
I think the thing I can be certain about is that inflation will happen and the project will get more expensive and my interest rates are
Could be different.
unknown.
So option two is you do the next phase, we think about it next year. Option three is you raise it, you know, a little more this year than you already have. Put some of that money into contingency, make interest on it, and then next year, knowing that there's gonna be another portion of that. Or option four, do nothing. So we are operating with nothing. I'm not saying we can't operate with nothing, we have been. Our kids are doing great, we have been. The issue is the issue though, and that we need, at some point, I think we should consider it.
I guess one of the things that I've been thinking about
Is that
also,
helpful?
Yeah, I think so. I just want to make it clear that there are more than just one path, right?
Yeah.
It's not, you don't do it or you do it. It's,
Yeah.
hey, we could spend a little bit of the money we already have saved up, figure out like a better idea of what it might cost in the future. If we really do sometimes put up to $2 million away per year, yeah, we might be in better financial shape to do it a year from now. But obviously inflation, price of construction, labor go up. I get it.
Yeah.
But just throwing
The
out,
proposed plan isn't necessarily like hard and fast, 110% baked, you know, like there could be changes to some of the materials, maybe it's cost less, who knows, you know, you could say, no, I don't want glass, no, I want this, you know.
Cafeteria costs less.
Yeah.
From
Well,
our original.
We had to make changes, right? That came in at 2 million and we said, well, we don't have 2 million, we have 1 million. So it was like, okay, well, then we're gonna have to cut this or change that or move this or, you know, all those things to make it half the cost.
I was also thinking about like, how does this project affect student outcomes, right? Like, will this have a greater impact on students than additional dedicated librarians? Will this have a greater impact on students than additional counselors, right? So
Structural learning support.
I just, like, when I think about the impact on kids, is this like the best use of funds? That's one of the things that I have a big problem.
I mean, you know, that I talked to you about this, about like each department in the high school removing a teacher over the course of at least since I've graduated. Business, math, the languages, English, history, I can name off every teacher that left the district either from furlough or retirement. And I know that would be, in my mind, more significant, right? We talk about scheduling conflicts being such an issue because everyone's strapped really thin and can't kind of move their subject because they're covering so many different time periods and or their contract for the collective bargaining unit only allows for them to teach a certain amount of classes per day. But the issue is because we've never replaced all of those teachers that left in each of the departments in the high school, we don't have as much movement and or manipulation with the overall schedule. So is that a conversation that's more worth having? That's
Just to
the
keep in
facility
mind,
right now.
the cost of the capital budget, right,
Look, I get that.
separate from what we can spend on teachers. So those are different budget items.
Well, not
Just
when
saying
we're
that
taking
we're putting
400.
some excess.
No, I'm just saying we can't take $2 million out of capital budgets and say, oh, we want to put that towards teachers. It's
Correct, but we never need to put it into capital in the first place if we're spending it on our teachers. That 2 million that we got
Yeah.
extra this year, that could go to teacher salaries and stuff. It didn't have to be moved into capital, and we can remove monies out of capital and put it into our general fund if we know we're going to spend it,
So I
but
think,
we just haven't.
I think every human in this room agrees that we need to invest in teachers, academics, the buildings, all of it, right? We need to invest in all of it. But in my mind too, I compare it to, okay, if I have an extra $10, do I give it to my local food bank or do I send it over to Gaza? The answer is both. Like, we need to invest in all of it. And I think we've been doing a really great job in having teachers double dip where they have to, admins double dip where they have to. We're a small school, we're doing it, right?
No.
We also have to invest in our buildings that we just do. They draw in great teachers, right? If our buildings are falling down around us, not that they are, but I'm just saying, we need to do both. We need to invest in academics, teachers, buildings, all of them. So just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Do we have administrator presentations?
Yes.
Well, because we probably need to move on to this.
Let me ask the board and Dr. the question. Are there any additional comments on the budget before we move to the last piece of presentations? I don't want to dismiss anyone that wants to actually have a chance to speak.
I just want to thank the board for already approving the 2 additional staff members coming into the district. As far as the administrative recommendations, we are at staffing levels that we think are appropriate that balance programs with fiscal responsibility. So thank you for the additional staff members as well.
Are there any other questions from board members regarding budgetary pieces? We'll have a chance to come back over it once we get to finance. We'll move into our third set of presentations for the night. Those will be our administration yearly wrap-ups. So we can start with the elementary schools, go to the high school, and then we will open it up for public comments for the first time tonight. Dr. Z, Dr. Monroe, Mr. Hewitt.
Okay, it is weird having your back to them, sorry. Yes, the light's on. We good? Okay, student life. We're closing everything up. All of our students are doing their culminating educational trips. K and 1 went to see Pout Fish presentation. 2nd and 3rd went to the Science Center. 4 did Tour Ed Mine, and 6 did the Symphony. 5th grade always does theirs in the fall. They go to Camp Lutherland. Field day was May 29th. The class of 2026 senior clap out was today. Thank you, senior high. We love when the seniors come through and get one last clap out at their elementary school. At the same time, the class of 2038 had their kindergarten farewell today. That number just, anyway. And earlier in May, we had our kindergarten screenings for our incoming class of 2039 coming to Werner. So thank you.
Keep driving the knife in a little.
I know.
That was good. All right. At 10th Street, we were just recognized at the state level for our PBIS efforts, being ready, respectful, responsible. So that's 10 years in a row. And we're very excited about that. Oh. We just held our Ready, Respectful, Responsible Carnival. We do that at the end of the year, every year. The kids love that. So we're excited about that. We've had a lot of year-end kind of things, as Dr. Mumo mentioned, Spring Art Fair, Spring Book Fair, of course, the concerts, choral, band and orchestra, those were all great and very well attended. Tomorrow we have a geography challenge. If you have a fourth grader, and Battle of the Books. I could see some former contestants in Battle of the Books. So that's exciting. On Wednesday, we'll be dedicating our outdoor classroom. So we're excited to finally open that up and very, very excited about that. Let's see what else. We had field day on the 22nd of May. We also had our former 10th Street students come up today for the senior clap out, which those kids did not get to do it because of COVID. Yeah, so that was great. They did not. They didn't get any of that stuff. I mean, that was great. And then, of course, we'll be clapping out our kids on Thursday, I guess. Yeah. So that's about it. Okay, right.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As everyone has already mentioned, it is the last week of school. Mr. Paris started us off with. The kids are very excited. Everyone's very excited about it. Obviously, the last week of school. Today was the last official day for our seniors. As you have already heard, we started with the senior breakfast and then we went on to graduation practice outside. They went to the elementary schools, did the clap out with the students and the parents. It was very nice. And then we did our inside practice, though. Hopefully we won't need that and we actually won't get rained on this year, is what we're counting on. On Friday, we had our senior Olympics. So we won't see our seniors again until Thursday night at graduation. May is a very busy month at any school, and at junior, senior high school, it's an extremely busy month. So our clubs really don't do a whole lot in May. They're winding things down, spending the last of their money, celebrations, electing officers for next year, but that doesn't mean there weren't a lot of things happening. As Dr. Z has just mentioned, we had the concerts, the choral, the orchestra concerts, the stage band concert, the band concert. They were all wonderful, wonderful concerts, as they always are. We had our 7th grade orientation where the rising 6th graders came. It had to be the biggest one I think I've ever been a part of. The cafeteria was packed. A ton of kids were here. We had a pizza truck. All right, it was great. You know what I mean? I really enjoy pizza. Pizza truck was a great thing. It was a wonderful night. That was the same night as the stage band concert. We had our underclassmen award ceremony where a lot of juniors won some awards. We had that here in the library. At the beginning of the month, we had our senior academic and athletics awards ceremony where a lot of dozens of local scholarships are handed out, awards to the students, both academic and athletic. We had our signing day in the gym last week for the students that are going on to play sports in college. We had our girls gala sponsored by the Sports and Entertainment Management class. They actually not only sponsored, they put it together, they organize it, they do the whole thing, and that's for grades 4 through 6. To bring an adult, they bring, somebody from their family with them. Always a fun event. And just a highlight, so if you see our STEAM room over here, if you remember when we built this, it went a couple of years without really being used. You can see it's jam-packed with all kinds of stuff. We use it, and it's Mr. McConnell and our life skills kids that have really taken advantage of this space, and they generated $8,000 in their Made to Learn program by making different products. Mr. McConnell, we're really proud. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It's coming, there's 82 students that are coming into the 7th grade, right? Is that the number? 82?
Sounds,
I think I saw an email.
Yes.
Sent to the board. Is that the largest class in the building?
no,
No,
What's the
that'd be our
largest class?
junior class.
Our junior class.
How big is your junior class?
High eighties.
90.
Okay.
Close to
Huge.
90.
Huge, which is when you heard like the schedule conflict stuff, that's the class.
So it's almost 90,
Yes.
junior
Yeah,
class.
so we're graduating 57, then we
Yeah.
jump to 90, and then
Okay.
drop back out into the 50s,
Okay,
and then we level out
no,
around
but
the
it's good,
70s.
it was good to read about an 80+ class.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting pretty consistent 70s and 80s coming in.
High 70s.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
Huge is
not
relative.
Yeah.
up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been over the last several years up and down a lot.
Right, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for the next piece, we're moving into what most of you have come for, right? Our first hearing of citizens. I would ask, I will read, our traditional statement. And then I would also ask that we form the line, starting over here, if you would like to speak at the first hearing of the citizens, and going back and wrapping around. I'm gonna read my little spiel, then we'll go from there. So like I mentioned, we'll move into our first hearing of the citizens. This is designated for agenda topics only.
Yeah.
So if you would like to speak, please sign in. Please make sure you sign in. Come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or the less. And keep in mind that the board does not typically respond to public comment, rather it takes in the information for consideration in future governance. Please also realize that comments that you make, are being recorded. I would also ask that we all remain respectful of each person's comments, whether we disagree with them or not. I would also ask that we remain somewhat silent. I know that there are cheers and stuff like that. I'm not stopping you from that. You do what you see fit. But I do mean in a sense of rowdiness or uncontrollable, I don't know. And the other piece of it too is to refrain from personal attacks. While board members and administration may disagree up here, we try to do it as mutually respectful as possible. It doesn't always stay that way. And we work hard to kind of continue our relations together because we are a large group that has to continuously work together. However, we don't work with the public as much, even though we are talking to you constantly. And so I do ask that you please refrain from making any personal attacks or remarks because our board members, my board members, do a lot. They are here giving up their time every 2 weeks out of every month. And I know that you've elected us to do that, but it is a lot. And we do this because we care and we aren't trying to, for lack of better words, piss anyone off with the right or wrong decision. So just keep that in mind, that it is not personal, and try to keep it from being personal, okay? Our first hearing of the citizens. Thank you.
Stephanie Garbe, 448 Center Avenue, Verona. Thank you, all of you, for being here. I know it is thankless, and I know you're tired of hearing from me. I understand the condition of the horse. When I came to this district in 2007, I was a single teenage mother. I'm gonna get really emotional. That came from a very large district. The school I went to had all the amenities. We had a common area, we had concession stands before and after school, we had 3 gyms. I could take racquetball as a gym class, I could take dance as a gym class, all of it. But what they couldn't do was help me graduate. There were not enough teachers for the students that we had. There was not enough staff for the students that we had. When we moved to Riverview, there were sufficient support staff. And because of them, I got accepted to 3 colleges that I didn't think I could ever do. And that was thanks to Mr. Carlin, Dr. Poth, Mrs. Stewart, Mrs. Delasella, Mrs. Heselton, Mrs. Walsh, Mrs. Pierce, Mr. Kinnick, Mrs. Gross, Mr. Schoaf, and Mr. Moser. The staff the district invested in at that time helped me move forward in my life to do great things. Our students deserve that. The building didn't help me accomplish those things. When I joined the board in 2021, we were shaving the ham bone so closely with our resources and our staffing, we were down to the bare minimum. Yet we want to create this expansion at $500,000+ a year. If we are to the bare bone of what we need in our district, why would we add $500,000+ a year in additional expenses and pull a substantial amount from reserves or capital? We could be putting that towards staff. There are schools across the PA that are flooding. We have already updated our schools. Draw Collective came in. We did our HVAC systems. We did our fire systems. We did our roofs. We did our windows. We're doing our kitchens. We are in good shape, but we would be in better shape if you gave back the staff and support your students need. Taking resources from a Title I school and giving them to another school is unethical. Not giving enough support staff or students to attain proper college prep is not responsible. Buildings don't teach kids. The lasting effects of experiences and knowledge given by those on the ground in our classrooms far outweigh that of the novelty of a new building. D.W. Schossenbach in 2014 in the article Does Class Size Matter? In the National Education Policy Center Policy Brief. Policymakers should carefully weigh the efficacy of class size policy against other potential uses of funds. While lower class size has demonstrable cost, it may prove the most cost-effective policy overall. At the very least, hold off for a year, have a town hall, add this as a referendum. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph.
Thank you. Richard Williams, 1324 Summer Drive. I've done a bit of research. This is Riverview School District right here. Okay. The demographics are here. This is one of the finest small school districts in the state. It says it there. Okay. You nine people have two things to remember. Students first, taxpayers second. Okay. I sat here and listened to a vacuum. It's a natural vacuum. We're talking about schools. Ready? We have a contract with teachers coming up. They've suffered the same thing that everybody in this room suffered. Big gas, every food. So we have a teacher's contract, we have this project, but we're in a vacuum because Allegheny River Boulevard is going to be done. The Ho Chi Minh Trail, I call it, okay? Yeah, and it's going to cost a little bit of money. I know about how much, okay? Yep. And then Allegheny County is kicking around for years. We were one of the worst counties in the United States for reassessment. We've been out for 10 years. No politician wants to touch that one, I can guarantee you, okay? Understandable. But I did demographics on Verona and Oakmont. I've been here for 53 years. My mom and dad bought a house on the poor end of 9th Street for $7,200. It sold for $250,000. I want to see a house in Oakmont that sells for $100,000, okay? Even the old ones. So we got to remember the taxpayer. We are a good school district. I've been here with National History Day. You got one of the best principals in the area, okay? I worked with him. I had Ken Kubasek, you all should know, as a student teacher. I had 13. He was my best, okay? You got a good school district. You are 9 good people, and we have a good administration. We just have to watch where we're going to spend our money. Thank you.
Wendy Wilton, 682 4th Street, Oak Lawn. You guys know I support this project, but I'm just here to state it again. This project is not a vanity project, and it's not about keeping up with the Joneses. It's about providing multifunctional educational spaces that can be used in a variety of ways by the students and faculty of the junior, senior high school. While I understand that, as we all do, that teachers are, important, what Leanne said is both matter. Facilities matter where kids come every day. We have amazing teachers in our district. That's a given. And this board and administration have shown that they are also investing in new teaching positions with the new elementary STEM teachers. But it's also important to consider the facilities that our kids spend 40 hours a week or more at. Investing in our schools and the education of our kids benefits everyone in the community. Good school districts result in higher home values and less crime. Updated school facilities and programs entice young families to move to the district. Keeping our public schools and programs updated increases the chances that families will choose to keep their kids in the district through high school. When the weight room was renovated a few years ago, some implied it was a luxury or another keeping up with the Joneses moment. But we now have an exercise and weight room that is available and being used by all the students, not just athletes and not just select athletic teams. Investing in the turf at the elementary schools made recess accessible all year round for kids. So students reap the benefits of investing in our school buildings. During the time that my kids were in school, large bonds were taken and reorganized to pay for end-of-life infrastructure needs, such as heating, AC units, windows, new roofs, all things that were necessary, but were not visible to the student or the community eye. I know that our infrastructure is solid now, thanks to boards in the past, but finally, investments can be made in things that directly affect the kids and their education. There's a lot of my tax money currently going to things that I do not want. But the one thing I want my tax money to go to is investment in our children, their education in our community. The school district over the years has responsibly prepared for large capital projects like the high school kitchen and the windows at Burner that will be completed this summer. But a big project like this requires a bond. Whether the board decides to go forward this year, next year, or even the year after with the bond, I would at least like to see the board commit to this project and to move forward in the best way financially that you can. Thank you.
Heather Mauke, 756 Allegheny River Boulevard. Thank you, all of the board members, for your service to the district. I do want to begin by saying I am a strong supporter of public education and of the Riverview School District. As many of you know, my son was a 2013 graduate. He had a wonderful experience at Riverview. I do, however, have serious concerns about the 26-27 budget and the junior senior high school facility improvement proposal. To be clear, the concern is not about whether Riverview should invest in its future, but whether this is the right project at the right cost at the right time. First, timing matters. As your PNC representative mentioned, we are at war. The current situation is a very difficult financial moment for many households. Families and seniors are already managing higher costs for gas, food, housing, utilities, healthcare, and other necessities. Any additional tax burden will be felt strongly, especially by those on fixed incomes. Also, taxpayers are already stretched thin from property tax increases year after year after year. These current macroeconomic realities warrant serious consideration in your decision-making, as tax increases are not a blank check to oppose at will every year. For the project options, it's concerning that only one design option appears to be under consideration. Before the district moves forward with a project of this size, the community would benefit from seeing a transparent comparison of alternatives, including phased approaches, plans that address only the most urgent needs, or designs that reduce features many see as problematic, such as the full glass entrance. Residents are asking whether this is the right scale of project for a district of Riverview size, and most would rather see more resources directed towards teachers, counselors, and librarians.
And we all worry that taking on major debt could create future budget pressures that could cause cuts to personnel and programs. The third issue is the transparency and public awareness. Many residents, especially those without children currently in the school system, were simply not aware of this project. For a project with significant debt and tax consequences, communication should have been broader, clearer, and earlier. Website updates, board meetings, and one recent social media post were not enough to fully inform an entire community. Going forward, I hope the district will commit to broader outreach and more consistent transparency and public communication to all residents, not just parents. In closing, I respectfully ask the board to pause. Mike, I like your suggestion, and carefully consider the financial burden these items would place on residents in these difficult times. Thank you again for your service, and I hope you will make a decision that reflects both the needs of the district and the ability of the community to support them.
Howdy, my name is Jonathan Oxier. I live at 406 California. There's so much to say, but there's so much being said. I'm a huge supporter of everything that you're doing of this district. We are one of those families that moved here explicitly for the schools. But I want to highlight, we came to this school and we didn't take a tour of the campus. This isn't college. We're not going to the quad. We don't actually care what the building looks like. I had a fantastic education. Half of my classes in a public education were in school portables, right? Some of this infrastructure is nice, but it is not essential. We are all standing in a library right now that does not have a full-time librarian. I hope I don't have to direct you to the avalanche of studies that show that that kind of support, a full-time librarian dedicated in a school, is one of the single most effective things you can do to raise educational outcomes and learning outcomes in students. I love that you have already approved a raise in our millage, and I'm one eating it badly, right? Like I bought at the top of the market at a higher interest rate than most people, right? Suddenly, you know, I'm paying the newcomer's tax, as they say. So this is going to hurt me a lot in perpetuity. But I love those small increases when you're supporting our instructors. We did 6th grade graduation. There was a 2-minute standing ovation for Mr. Rowe. Mr. Rowe, who then also wrote an email to my family talking about what he saw in my kid and how much time he enjoyed spending. That is the teacher. That is the human capital that makes things like this so powerful, this district so powerful. I understand that there are a lot of needs, but the last thing I want to cite is every single person I've ever talked to talking about this district and the demographics sees a massive demographic shift or problem coming. If this district continues to grow, these buildings are not going to be able to house all of the incoming students between Verner, 10th Street, and the middle and high school. And down the road, there is going to be a major structural problem that is going to involve massive building changes. And I think this is a time to hang on to our war chest and not overextend on something that is not actually going to future-proof the district for these major things. We have a wonderful district. Y'all are doing amazing work. I love what you're doing, but I want to see you supporting the teachers, and because they're the ones that actually change kids. You're hearing this a lot from everyone, but I'm one of those voices too. So thanks.
Hello, my name is Juliet Brune, address 127 Oakland Drive, Oakmont. First, I'd like to recognize that I'm here along with 4 of my fellow students. And I'd like to also emphasize that we aren't here for a grade or because someone told us we needed to be here, but rather we are here because we see a positive change in our school district, something that we think that we can all improve from, and we want to make our voices heard. We want to be here for a reason. So just I wanted to make that clear before I begin. But again, by being here, we are hoping to provide an inside student view of how this directly can, in addition to our school district, can directly benefit us as students and bring light to current issues and problems that we are experiencing and that can be solved by passing this. So some of these issues that we as students are noticing are as follows. Many of us are in our music department, chorus, band, orchestra, and we sing in our choir in a very tight room. We're shoulder to shoulder in our rooms. And while we have an incredible teacher, the size of the room cannot be ignored. We are very close, and we simply don't have the spaces adequate to fit as many of us, which I'm proud of that there are so many of us in the music department, but we just have such a small space to deal with. I'd also note that this is the first board meeting I've ever been to, I've ever attended, and I recognize that there are a multitude of factors that come into play, and money is a huge part of the decision. But I am a student who personally is very proud to be a part of this district. I feel the education I'm getting is more like I'm just very proud of the education that I am getting here at Riverview. And I feel that while I don't always want to compare us to other schools because of how proud I am of us, even as a small district, I feel that it is important to recognize that this edition includes things that other schools around us have that we do not, and that we can benefit from having. We as a school, but more specifically us as students, I strongly believe that we would greatly benefit from this. I believe that while we have incredible teachers, as I have stated, having a space that appropriately fits our student body changes the way we learn for the better. We learn better if we have a space where we can learn with enough room for us to extend our arms and not have to bump into people while we sing our songs. We as students also just thank you all for allowing us to have a space for us to make our voices heard as students, not as parents or as members of the community, but as students in the district. And we hope you take into consideration an addition that will improve and strengthen the way we learn as students. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sophia Leisure. My address is 631 Maple Way. Hello, Riverview School Board. My name is Sophia Leisure and I'm a sophomore at Riverview Senior High School. I know there is a lot of important discussions happening tonight regarding the budget, staffing, taxes, and proposed renovation project. I understand why people are concerned. The district is facing a budget gap of roughly $235,000. Healthcare costs are rising by more than 8%, and there are real concerns about taxes and long-term financial responsibility. I also understand the concerns being raised by community members who believe staffing should come before construction. Riverview's teachers, counselors, administrators, and support staff are one of the greatest strengths of the districts. They are the reason that students succeed and what makes Riverview special. But I do not think this conversation should be viewed as staff versus facilities. Great teachers also deserve facilities that support student learning. When a program grows, the space serving that program should be evaluated too. The district itself has stated that the high school lacks educational, instructional, and support spaces that we currently lack in other places, like other districts throughout Pennsylvania. As a student, I see one example of that every day throughout our choir program. Our choir program serves more than 110 students across grades 7 through 12. It is not an extracurricular activity, but an academic elective. That means during the school day, and that this is going on during the school day for 3 periods and is a part of the school's education. However, the space currently being used was never designed for a program this size. It is the band room's old uniform closet. Students are crowded together, there is no classroom telephone, and the lights are motion censored. So if our choir teacher is, sitting there at their desk, the lights will go off periodically. And I feel like that should also be, a kind of a safety concern as well. This is also, again, a safety concern because when the lights go out, the whole, yeah. Yeah. I'm not standing here asking the board to approve any specific dollar amount or ignore the financial concerns facing the district. Taxpayers deserve consideration since they pay 70% of local property tax, and whatever decision is made will affect everyone. Responsible saving matters. I simply believe that when the district discusses long-term planning, the experience of the students who use these spaces every day should remain a part of the conversation. If we hold these renovations back, taxes and the cost of the renovations will more than likely go up. This is not about luxury. It's not about choosing building over people. It's making sure facilities continue to support the students and staffing they are built to serve. Whatever decision is made, I hope it balances financial responsibility, support for staff, and the need for current and future students. I hope we continue to invest not only in the people who make Riverview great, but also the space that help the students do their best work. Thank you for your time.
Emily Wender, 129 3rd Street, Oakmont. I'm here to talk about staffing and hiring amidst the renovation considerations, but I'm going to start with the band. I'm a proud band mom, and I'm concerned about its future and excited about its future. It's a known issue that our band from elementary through high school is struggling to enroll and retain students. We're all excited about a new band director who can rejuvenate the Riverview band program, but we also understand the challenge in front of this new hire. They're being asked to grow an elementary school band, recruit and instruct new players at all grade levels, teach elementary music, and jumpstart and elevate a dwindling high school band program. Past staffing reductions led to that problem. I recognize that increasing our music educator staff is not in the budget for this year, but in subsequent years, I hope this board actively considers that we need additional staffing, whether it's a full-time position or 0.5, to support the development of a sustainable band program, but also tenable job descriptions for all our music educators. I am excited about the possibility of an auditorium. We've heard the students talk about the need for a choir space, but I do not want to see this district commit to a renovation that prioritizes the arts without being able to staff the arts. Thank you.
Hi, Christy Bodnar, 910 Washington Avenue. I have 3 children in the district in 5th, 9th, and 11th. And so, first, thank you so much. I know you are all faced with really hard decisions tonight, and the information, I'm sure, is pulling you in both directions, the way it is with me personally. But buying a home is an investment, and a strong and desirable district raises home values, and it increases our investments as homeowners. Benefits of that investment can be realized if we're accessing equity in our home, or if we sell our home. And higher home sales, fast turnover also equates to an increase in future tax money to the district. Keeping a school current, relevant, and valuable is so important to families that are currently in the district, as well as prospective students and potential home buyers in our neighborhood. The health and value of the schools in the district typically carry a lot of weight in people's home buying decisions. In my opinion, there are so many positives to this proposed renovation. Providing a much needed auditorium and additional extracurricular spaces to support our students and teachers, ability for district to earn money on rental fees, increasing desirability of homes in our district, etc. I know we've stated these things. However, while I support this renovation, I do share a lot of the concerns that other people have stated in the room about our ongoing staffing issues. With a student who's a junior, I'm seeing places where stronger support and guidance counselors could potentially be added. I also am concerned for people who are on fixed incomes and how that can impact their budget. I'm concerned about potential to tax increases to homeowners now and in the future. I'm concerned about introducing a plan with potential economic impact to residents in a time when there's a lot of economic uncertainty, and considering how we can protect individuals and residents on fixed incomes from future tax increases. I also think there's some other considerations in the budget that need to be thought about for the future. Investing in closing some of the disparity between our 2 elementary schools, disparities that can be seen in PSSA scores, particularly in 2023-24 school years. I'll finish later. Thank you so much. I hope that the school district and board moves forward, but I hope that they consider the fiscal responsibility of leveraging only bonds to fund this and consider other resources that can reduce the financial impact on the resident. So thank you.
Hi, Natalie Telfus. I live at 500 10th Street. Proud, well, I guess graduate of Riverview, class of 98. I'm a proud mom of 2 sons. They're class of 31 and 33. And my husband is a proud high school teacher at a neighboring district. I wanted to speak tonight in support of, I'm also a proud band mom, so say that. So I wanted to speak in support of all the work we're doing in locating a new band director and thinking through the opportunities. I echo a lot of Emily Wender's comments from earlier. So I wanted to hit that. And I also wanted to speak in support of the capital investment and needs of the district. I appreciate the care and time that the administration has taken in developing those plans. I appreciated being able to listen into the conversation and care that each of our board members took in thinking through and asking the questions to ensure that we understood what the financial obligations were and opportunities for thinking about things differently. It was I think a treat to see, opportunity for open discussion among you, shared interest in ensuring that we do the best for our students as everyone here is speaking about. So thank you for your time and energy and the volunteer roles that you have to represent the community and to bring that forward. I am very supportive and appreciative of all of the elements within the capital plans that will support the arts, that will create more space for our students, that will continue to elevate the environment that we have for our students as they enter the junior and senior high school. In addition to elevating, for those students, elementary students will have access to more space as well, having an auxiliary gym space available, having more access to their own gyms because the high school students are leveraging them. So, again, I think it just raises the district all around, and you can see that in the plans and in the care that's been taken over the last couple of years to develop those plans. And so I appreciate all of the district's interest in doing that. I'm in full support of moving forward as well with the bond. I think, I also serve on I'm a board member for a nonprofit board here in Pittsburgh. We just wrapped up a capital campaign, and it was a big learning experience for me. We were eligible for other funds that public school districts just aren't eligible for, right? But appreciate the comments about having potential access to alternative funds. I think, unfortunately, as I've recently learned, and as maybe some of the research would learn, many of the foundations in the area are limited in terms of, or have restrictions in terms of being able to apply funds towards capital campaigns. So they're more interested in program opportunities or, perhaps some of the next phase of the research, like feasibility analysis, things that would contribute towards community involvement and things like that. But I do think we'll find limitations as we go out. Anyway, go band. Real excited about the band that's coming on. Again, echo the support. I think as we get the numbers back up to when Leanne and I were in the band together, I think we had over 100 in the band. It was very proud band member. I would appreciate some additional support for lessons and continuing to grow that within the elementary school. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Marie Huber, 415 California, here in Oakmont. I am against the project. First of all, the tax increase sounds like a pittance, but a pittance here, a pittance there, to somebody of my age or my husband's age that we should be retired now. But instead, we have to keep working because of all these pittances. So raising taxes and then going further into debt to pay for this rebuild when a lot less money could be used to revitalize, to restructure what is already here. I can understand and totally sympathize with the space and convenience issues. Knock out some walls, make a bigger space. I mean, I'm not familiar with this school at all, the layout, but I know that it could be remodeled to accommodate everybody. And also, the children here in this district excel. But one thing that they should be taught, a life skill, fiscal responsibility. And that should start right here. Thank you.
Sylvia Sullivan, 139 Oak Meadow Drive. I've already spoken to you about my ideas of like a lobbyist maybe or something like that to help us get some more of this money with the grants and things like that. Even if you move forward, I still think that would be a responsible thing. And most of the time they pay for themselves by the money that they raise. So it'd be a good option to offset some of these costs. I also think it's a good idea to maybe make sure we can actually do this before we spend all this money and raise all the taxes.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know with the soil samples and things. And there's other parts of this renovation that we could maybe start with and then also test the soil and still be doing some things to update and benefit the students and then possibly still move forward, but make sure we actually can. And in that time, maybe get some other plans, some other ideas, some other options. So that was my opinion. You guys already know that, but I also just wanted to thank Dr. Z. We had our 6th grade celebration on Friday and he truly went out of his way to help us make it the best that it could have been. He was the DJ. He helped me set stuff up. He was there all evening helping me, till late at night. And it was just, he went out of his way to make it the best for those kids and they had an amazing time. So thank you, Dr.
Hi there. I'm Alicia Andrews, 634 10th Street in Oakmont, proud mom of a current 2nd grader and 6th grader. I appreciate all of you. I want to start with immense gratitude to all the board members, administrators, leaders at the school, and staff. And I appreciate the thoughtful and thorough planning that's gone into the proposed improvements to the junior senior high school facility. The needs identified, particularly around instructional space, student support, and safety, are clear and compelling. However, I am concerned about the current proposal to incur an additional $10 million in bond debt. According to the district's 23-24 audited financial statements, Riverview currently carries approximately $20.8 million in outstanding bond debt, with $739,650 in annual interest on long-term obligations. And those bonds have been issued since 2018, highlighting a recent borrowing trend. Taken together, this reflects a significant and ongoing debt burden. Adding another 10 million would further increase total obligations and extend repayment timelines, raising important questions about long-term financial sustainability and flexibility. Equally important, folks talked about the potential Allegheny County Council is considering an ordinance that would require regular property assessments every 3 years, starting in 2028, with new values taking effect shortly thereafter. And while intended to improve fairness, and I love taxes, I love paying them because they go to support great things like our schools, it's not sustainable. My concern is not with the district's vision, but with how the project is proposed to be financed. I would be supportive moving forward if there was a deliberate effort, and I echo Sylvia Sullivan's comments to find a lobbyist. If we could raise at least 50% of the project cost through private contributions, partnerships, public funding sources, that I can get on board with, but not a full bond. In the absence of a more balanced funding strategy and clearer data supporting the immediacy of the full project scope, I encourage the board to consider a more measured approach, reassess project scope and prioritize the most critical components, address key items in manageable phases, explore phased implementation to reduce immediate borrowing needs, maximize use of reserves, partnerships, or alternative funding sources, align any future debt decisions with clearer guidance on the county's reassessment schedule and impacts. The district's goal of enhancing student opportunities while maintaining fiscal responsibility is one I strongly support 100%. But at this time, taking on an additional 10 million in debt on top of existing obligations and in the context of a changing tax and policy environment appears to introduce unnecessary financial risk for both the district and its taxpayers now and in the years to come. So I started with gratitude and I'm going to end with gratitude. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andrew Dinklocker. I'm at 634 9th Street. So almost was like, wait, what address am I at? I moved here a few years ago and I have 3 daughters. One is graduated 6th and going into junior, senior high. Another one's graduating into 6th grade. Going to be the big fish, little pond. And then I have our youngest that's going to be graduating into kindergarten. So we plan to be here for the long haul. I'm super excited to hear from so many different people taking it seriously in terms of both your responsibilities on the board, but also the folks that are speaking up for or against the positions here with some civics, some mindfulness about what the impacts of this are. But the echo that I want to repeat or amplify is really about the democratic process that we need to engage in. I did not know very much about what was going on with this and hearing about this. Yeah, I support the arts. I'm certainly in support of public education. But in the end, if we don't have a civics engagement that is led by the folks that are representing us in terms of facilitating debate and discussion so that more robust ideas can come out, or more ideas about how can we problem solve some of the inefficiencies we have and make better prioritization. Otherwise, it all sits on you all as our elected representatives, and it becomes a hot topic because it all gets concentrated at this particular moment, and where else can we go but here in order to exchange that out. I'm all for putting a pause on such a dramatic shift in a project that you all might have been working on for a couple of years. That might be pretty harsh, but in the sense, it's also very realistic given that you want to have buy-in of the community, both the parents of students that are coming here, people who do not have students that are part of the school that are engaged in the school district, but are going to be paying for these bills, as well as the students and staff and faculty themselves. And we got to make sure that kind of engagement is done through a participatory process, and those things exist. It doesn't mean you have to create something out of whole cloth. It's called participatory budget making. That exists. Other school districts have engaged in that with great effect, so that by the time you get to a vote on a major project like this, it's more of a celebratory resolution to addressing the issues that we might all feel is important, and we have a sense of where the community's at as to what the top priorities should be. So again, I thank you for your efforts on trying to address issues, but I also want to say maybe we should look at starting to be a model of civics around democratic budgetary processes, so it makes your job easier when it comes time to push major projects versus the day in, day out administrative stuff, which we do not have time to address when it comes, when those decisions need to be made. So thank you again very much for all of your contributions. And I think being in a community where people at every level is participating, from the students, the folks that don't have parent or students enrolled, or parents that do have students involved. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, Stephanie Grimes, 732 College Avenue, Oakmont. I agree with much of what has been said out here in terms of taking a pause. As you all know, because I emailed you and you heard from me, when I emailed asking for like the needs assessment and laying out, and then the summary then came out and was posted following that exchange, I was really hoping that that summary was gonna like give me all the answers. I've been coming to these meetings. I've watched them on live stream when I can't be here. I feel like I'm pretty informed, and I know that these things have been discussed, but it still wasn't clear. And to me, that means there's still work to be done, similar from the democratic process of the community. I have next door neighbors who are on fixed incomes who had no idea about it. I told them about it. I'm sure they've reached out. I want to be sold. Like you guys talking about getting donors and other sponsors, and I agree with all of that as well. But what was provided to the community isn't getting $1 from a sponsor. I've done a lot of grant giving and grant writing. It's got to be more robust. The testimony from the kids, for instance, the students, like that should have come first.
That should have been part of a needs assessment. Not just that, but stuff, surveys from teachers, from the community, getting the buy-in so that exactly what the gentleman before me just said, we're not standing here with a week to go. You guys have to vote and the community's just now finding out about the possibilities. I know that your intention is not to keep secrets from the community or anything like that, but it's hard to defend when that's what it feels like for people. When you ask for a full-blown needs assessment, like it referred to a needs assessment, it said that there was a significant comprehensive needs assessment that was done. But I don't see that needs assessment anywhere. I would really like us to go back and really dig in and see where are those needs, a lot of the things that we've heard talked about today, to make sure if we're going to be asking me and the rest of this room to be your donors, that we can get behind it, speak to it, get excited about it, and really fill the gaps that are important for our kids. Okay.
Hi, my name is Sophia Gajetta, and I live at 510 8th Street in Oakmont. To start off, I want to thank all of you. I acknowledge that this is a volunteering position, and you guys aren't really at an easy point. But I am here to explain that although the new renovation will fulfill some needs, it will not fulfill the entire needs of the student body. I want you all to understand that my future, our futures are in your hands. Is preparation for college and the next step after high school or an auditorium more important? Is the quality of our education or the appearance of our school what matters most? But my point to you is for today is that we need to hire more teaching staff for multiple areas of education. I ask that instead of using millions of dollars to put in a new auditorium when we already have one sustainable at 10th Street, you hire more teachers that can teach us throughout the day, especially regarding core classes. I understand that there are 9 periods in a day, but seniors who need mandatory classes like personal finance, economics, civics, should not be forced to take the class online. Speaking for myself, I know that I am a learner who succeeds in in-person classes. My parents are not paying school taxes for me to have 3 online classes. And as teachers can only teach so many periods of the day, maybe you can consider taking a fraction of the multi-million-dollar budget and putting that into building larger classrooms that can sustain larger number of students. Because as we have seen, there are more students coming up in the classes, like the 82 coming up in the 7th grade class. Hiring more teachers will aid our futures. It will help us more than any golf simulation. It will help us more than a chorus room. I hate to say, I am so proud of Mr. Hart because he has really built up the program. But I was told by administration that chorus will now be in the band room with much more space. And even as a solution, the small band that we have, which who knows what the numbers will be in a couple of years, we can go in that room. This is an opportunity for a solution. Hiring another high school counselor will lead us to a path of success. 2 counselors should not have to schedule the entire school, take care of all AP classes, help solve student crisis, spend a period on lunch duty, and get students fully prepared for their path after college and high school and more. Why should 2 people be responsible of the job that seems to fit 4? Also, why should one teacher have to teach publishing, computer science, economics, and middle school electives? Why are some students still provided opportunities for their desired career paths and others aren't? Accounting is an offered elective, but each year I've signed up for it and it's never been on my schedule. I just have to say that there need to be more teachers that can teach more periods throughout the day. If you have more teachers only at the high school, then it will give us what we need. I need you to think about our futures. This auditorium for a couple of just extracurriculars will help, but it's not going to represent what we need as an entire student body. Thank you.
Well, I don't know how I top that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia Gajetta. I'm the proud mom of Sophia, who just spoke. And, and also I have a son who's upcoming in ninth grade. So I don't want to reiterate, a lot of the sentiments that have been shared. I strongly feel. But first and foremost, I just want to commend every one of you because yes, it is voluntary. You're here to represent us. You are putting extreme time, working hard, a lot of consideration. So I deeply appreciate what you guys are all doing to do the best in the best interest of all these students. I'm here to say that in looking, I looked at the assessment needs. Okay, so, as a mom of someone who is a band and an orchestra student, a lot of what's being proposed is targeted towards the non-academic support, which I'm in favor of music. I'm in favor of the arts. I'm a huge supporter as having my daughter here. But I also, as I'm currently experiencing, is that I'm not able to get my daughter into core classes that are going to support her path that she's going into senior year and ultimately university. And it's a hard pill to swallow when she's being told to go online when we are a brick and mortar school. We're not a cyber school. So it's a hard pill to swallow when I think about looking at those plans, the cost that it's going to be to build this out and not knowing what the future holds in the music and arts, because when budgets have to be cut, those are the first to go. So what is all this huge auditorium going to do when the budget can't support the program? I mean, today it can't even support sheet music or repair of instruments or uniforms. So how can we sit here and say we need to build out an auditorium when we can't even give them the basic needs or even enough staff to support the music and arts? Versus we need more counselors. We need, oh my God, I can't say this enough, but we need a college prep counselor. We need someone to help these kids, as well as us parents, to help guide us, to help guide them to know whatever track they're going on. Like, here's what you need to consider to go down. Like, think about these are the classes that will help support you if this is the track you're going on to go to university. We need to support them so that they can have the most absolute successful outcomes as they move on to their next chapter. And if we can't do that here, these kids are going to flounder and us parents are floundering, and that's a huge investment. So I implore you to consider that as a new position. I can also, a lot of what my daughter just said, we need another counselor. These counselors are stretched beyond. They should not have to be doing lunch duty. They should not have to, they're not even psychologists, but there's an increase in mental health and they're getting sent to them. Like, we need a psychologist. I know that the school can't tell parents how to handle kids with these mental illnesses, but they could at least help direct them. These kids are having meltdowns. Mental illness is on the rise, and you got to consider like where the greatest needs are. I feel feasibility of the greatest needs and prioritize from there. Can we, yes, as some have shared, can we renovate some of the current space? Can we get creative, just like we're using Nexus for 7th and 8th? I don't see that as a problem. It's right across here. Like, that's where we need to get creative. How do we save and be smart about the funding we have, not get us deeper into debt, pay all this money, and then before you know it, we're going to outgrow that space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamie Leonardi. I live at 815 Pennsylvania Avenue, and I believe most of you know that I have 2 children at 10th Street Elementary. I am adding my voice to the echo of those asking the board to please put a pause on this project and do deeper consideration. I think there are 2 major concerns of mine. One is the cost modeling that President Harris brought up. Ms. Liebert, it was very helpful to see what you presented today. I would like to see more in-depth analysis. We know that there are major cost drivers, inflationary costs. Apparently, we're not allowing additional budgets for materials, right? I don't think that's entirely sustainable, right? So we're going to see more materials for more costs for materials, certainly more costs for healthcare, more costs for fuel, transportation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would love to see that modeled in, as well as the ongoing operating costs of this new space. We're talking about 20,000 square feet of new space. What's the projected heating and cooling costs? What are the additional janitorial and maintenance costs in sustaining that space over 5, 10, 20 years? I think that's very important for the board to consider in making your decision. And I just think that the fact that we're a week out from a vote and you guys don't have all that information is a little concerning to me. The second phase, again, echoing what Steph said about a more public needs assessment and echoing what Andrew said about, community collaboration in terms of collaborative budget making. You saw we had one person, I think, from Verona here tonight. This is not well published to the community. There hasn't been a public community forum. There hasn't been an opportunity for Q&A. I've asked multiple board members individually, what's up with this glass? What's the security, what's up with the security implications of this glass? People can't answer or aren't sure. I think, again, I understand it's a starting point, but I think we need to keep going with that conversation. You really need to fold the community into it before you turn around and take out a $10 million bond a week from today. So that's my request. I thank you for all your work. I know it's a difficult situation. I support the project. My kids certainly stand to benefit from it. I understand there are additional facility needs, but I just ask that you do it thoughtfully to make sure that we're not in that financial pinch in the future. We then have to start cutting salaries, cutting programs to support the financial obligations we have to a bank. So thank you so much for your time.
Last and least, Ernie Tillman, 1231 Pennsylvania. I graduated from here in 79. My wife graduated in 81. My kids were 2015 and 17, I believe. I just wanted to offer a perspective. I went through the transition from Oakmont, Verona to Riverview. I had to go to Verona for 7th grade, 8th and 9th at 10th Street, then down here when this school was built. My wife went through the normal stuff with that school, 10th Street and this school. There was 130 people in my class. There's 125 in my wife's class in this building. So the talk about facilities and not enough space and not enough whatever, no, there's no reality to that. 130 in my graduating class, 125 in my wife's. Yes, teachers, counselors, librarians. We had all of that. We had all the APs. We had 2 years of all the sciences, honors English all the way through. I took 3 AP tests to go to school. I got accepted to a program that takes 45 people a year, and it still only takes 45 people a year. The academics here are superior, but you got to keep the staff up to speed. And it's a shame that we destroyed the music department with 1 year's budget vote. And I'll stand by that statement. If anybody wants to debate that with me, you'll lose. Bringing it back would be wonderful. We used to have 130 kids on the field counting marching band, cheerleaders, dance squad. I watched the parade this year. I think we had 16 musicians. Sad. So focus on the staff, focus on growing it. I believe it needs to grow. I understand the financial implications of that. I was finance chair for 4 years here. I know all what you're dealing with. But the chorus room is nice and it's a lot of benefits. But somebody said you don't have the staff for it. Maybe you don't. So take a look at staff, please. Thank you.
Hey, if the national government could work this good, you understand where we would be? The state government. Thank you all. I gotta go home. I don't know if I can get out of the seat.
Is there any others wishing to make a public comment at this time? Please keep in mind that there will be a second public comment at the end of the meeting for all school related items. So without further ado, I will move us into our first discussion / review of potential motions for approval for the voting meeting coming up. Our business and finance will be presented by our Director of Finance and Operations, Ms. Bluebird.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 14 motions for consideration. Number one would be the 26-27 final budget. Number two is participation in the CEP Community Eligibility Program for the 26-27 school year. Number three is a la carte food prices for the 26-27 school year. Number four is cafeteria food prices for the 26-27 school year. Number five is approval of the district tax collectors. Number six is approval of the Homestead Farmstead Act. Number seven is insurance for property casualty workers' compensation, interscholastic sports, school board E&O. Number eight is board secretary appointment and financial obligations. Number nine is motion to close the 25-26 financials. Number 10 is approval of capital improvements 2026 project payment in the amount of $70,191.26 for professional services to Draw Collective. Those professional services equate to the high school cafeteria and burner window project. Number 11, capital improvement 2026 in the amount of $10,965 for professional services to Draw Collective. Those services included the work that was completed on the junior/senior high school addition and renovation. Number 12, disposal and recycling and certified data destruction of surplus technology equipment no longer suitable for instructional use, approximately 170 iPads, 150 desktops, laptops, and 10 Promethean boards. Number 13, request the purchase of 10 ViewSonic view boards, 75-inch interactive flat panels to continue replacing outdated Promethean boards. And number 14, board secretary appointment. Oh, that's a duplicate. Sorry. That's all. Number 13.
Thank you, Ms. Bluebird. Are there any questions for our Director of Finance and Operations?
For item 12, the disposal recycling of technology.
Yes.
Is there, when getting rid of those, is there any like benefit that they give us back, like in a financial way, like to be able to put towards new things? Or
I believe that these are computers and whatnot that have been sitting in a room for a really long time. They do not work. They're not just being retired. They are incapable of being utilized. So we have, Mrs. Getz and I have discussed, I don't think these can even be traded in for funding, right?
No, they'll take them, they will give us some residual value. And the iPads for sure will give us a little bit of residual value.
So there will be a little bit of
Small amount
funding
coming
back,
back.
a small amount, but it's not.
They're so old that they're not
Yeah.
really.
How old are they, Mrs. Getz?
Probably pre-COVID, or some students are still using pre-COVID this year.
Okay. I was wondering, because I know there's some places will give you money
Yeah.
towards new things or whatever.
Yeah, that's why I think we probably been more apt to do the leasing now, because those are things that we can get back.
You can turn in and get, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Ms. Bluebird, I have two things.
Yes.
One, the board secretary appointment and financial obligations. Do you be okay with moving that under board governance and regulations?
Sure.
Okay. Just for,
I think, Rainey, we can move the board secretary appointment, but I think the financial obligations are like making budget transfers, and I think, let me double check what she.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that might be, we might be splitting that into two parts. If you'd like that moved to board governance.
I still would probably put the financial obligations under board governance.
Okay.
Because it's the board approving
Sure.
the board secretary's power to make purchases beyond a certain amount or up to a certain amount.
Certainly.
And then the Draw Collective, thing, I know that I've mentioned this before, but I will say it again for them as well. Getting an invoice for $70,000 and another one for 10,000 without articulation of the actual description of their job is so incredibly disheartening to see, as a school district, a public school district. Because we should know what that work is going to on the actual invoice that we get, not just, I know it says construction and bidding and stuff, but more than that, right? There's, I don't know, this person is spending 32 hours at a rate of 155, and it's a total amount of $4,900. Don't get me wrong. I get it from a legal aspect, right? I do it as my career where I bill at a certain rate and a certain amount of hours, but I have to describe every single thing that I'm doing, whether it's a phone call with a client, whether it's an email to a client or opposing counsel, drafting, etc. And then I'm putting the actual description of what that was, not just a call to a client, but a call to a client regarding their child's meeting or, you know, going to motions court or this, that, and the third. I'm
Can you send me one of your
articulating-
invoices? 'Cause
Right.
I've never get an invoice that detailed.
But it absolutely should be. It should be detailed enough that not only all 9 of us, before voting on it, recognize the work that was being done, but anyone who comes before or after can thereafter go look at these records and say, that's why they spent $70,000 that meeting on Draw Collective's invoice, right?
I will say it is an improvement upon past invoices, so I do appreciate how they've stepped up. But again, it is divided into areas, so I have some concept of what was done, but a little bit, we need to pull the string a little more.
I mean, what is?
I'll make that request. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just saying, what is construction administration? I don't know what the hell that is.
That's our lead architect, Alina. Job. Her and Mr. Gardner. He's our construction manager.
Thank you.
I'll definitely make the request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments for business and finance? And please know that that's not directed towards you. This is very clearly like you to make this invoice, but freeze.
When I received it, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Clearly it is not.
It's much better.
Okay. There are no other comments or questions for our, for Ms. Bluebird. We'll move into agreements, contracts, and resolutions, which will be presented by our superintendent, Dr. Neil English, and our director of finance and operations, Ms. Sheila Bluebird.
Thank you, Mr. Paris. We have a few items for your consideration at next week's voting meeting. One is the agreement with Phase 4, which is our alternative education for disruptive youth partner for the 25-26 school year for any students that may need it. We have an agreement with staffing. These are our nurse professionals for the 26-27 school year to support at least one of our students for the upcoming year. We have an agreement with the day school, the Children's Institute for 2 of our students for next school year. We have an agreement for educational services offered by Glade Run for the 26-27 school year for additional school-based therapeutic services for our students in the upcoming year. We have participation with the School-Based Access Program, SBAP, in fiscal year 26-27, which allows the school to be partially reimbursed for Medicare and Medicaid special needs services for our students. We have an agreement with Securely. This is a cloud-based software, which is our district filter to keep students safe online, focused in the classroom, and secure on campus. We have a renewal agreement with Power School for the upcoming year, which is our new student information system, as well as a renewal agreement for School Messenger, which is the system we use for school community communications. We have an AIU, Allegheny Intermediate Unit, Allegheny Connect WRWAN Consortium Technology Services for the 26-27 school year. That's a consortium license for technology, internet, etc. We had an agreement with Security for optional student device protection, which will help parents to protect their school issued devices. This will be optional the upcoming year for parents. We have a lease agreement with Dell Technologies to provide 400 Dell Pro Education 11 student devices at a discounted rate for the next 4 years. We have an agreement with Project Life for the 26-27 school year for students attending the Goodwill program. For any student that may need it, we have our annual agreement with Holy Family Specialized Learning for the 26-27 school year. We have our sponsor agreement for the 26-27 school year with the Riverview Children's Center. We have a 5-year contract agreement between the school district and Allegheny Transportation Services, 26-27 through 20-31 school years as presented. Ms. Lubert, did you want to add anything there? No. We have a 2-year continuation extension of the Riverview School District solicitor engagement with Malo Brungo Malo for the 26-27 and 27-28 school years. We have our confidential Act 93 confidentials and secretary evaluations. This is a placeholder and will be discussed in executive session with the board next week, as well as our safety and security report, which will also be discussed in executive session next week. Those are annual presentations to the board. We also have contracted services for our school doctor between Dr. Shergill and the Riverview School District for the 26-27 school year physicals and other related services for the upcoming year. Any questions, clarifications, discussions?
I'm not sure if this is, sorry, this is the right place to ask. I think it is. If there's been any progress about, providing athletic trainer connection with either a provider in the area or individual.
So I received an email from the athletic director on Friday, and we are looking at having a meeting with another company in the next week or two.
Okay.
We have limited options.
Yeah, we're working hard on it.
We're working hard at it. I have put some increased funding in the budget this year as some padding, because I'm pretty sure that we're going to pay a lot more for those services.
Because it's not for a healthcare provider, or because it's like an individual?
Because we were receiving a service for a very reasonable rate in UPMC. And since they can't provide that and AHN is not taking on new clients due to the lack of athletic trainers, we are, for lack of better terminology, between a rock and a hard place. And we have to have an athletic trainer.
We had run one presentation from a company at $30,000, dollars more annually than the current price we're paying. We're hoping that the meeting we have in the upcoming week will be hopefully less than that. So we have some information to present to the board.
I actually think I'm gonna add this to my list of things that we need to advocate for at the state level, because this is gonna become an issue like the teacher pipeline, in my view. Unfortunately, fortunately, I know a little bit about ATC. And it's definitely a pipeline issue generally, because the other factor of this is that the life work balance of an ATC is like 0. Because of the hours that are required to be worked. So.
Also requires a master's degree. And
basically, yeah, you have to go 5
Yeah,
years
so
and you
the
have to
fact that-
take an entire
and
day
if you're gonna
exam.
make 30K, like,
Yeah.
no wonder nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, and then you work 50
Well,
hours a week.
And you
To be
work
fair,
all kinds of crazy hours.
I think she was paid a portion.
Well, yeah, I know.
And then
They're
yeah.
taking a cut of that. I get that. But I'm just saying, like, that is an issue at large. I understand, but also like not having an AT is not an option.
Yeah,
So-
it's a big priority
Yeah.
for us.
It's like,
At 30,000 more, would it make more sense for us to hire one? I know that also finding one, yeah, creates its own challenges. I'm just thinking that
We batted that around, that's significantly more than 70,000 with Geezer for Geezer's
you have
benefits.
to pay benefits and figures on top of that.
But I mean, we'll have a host of options. We're working on it. It is a big priority. So allocate that money into Geezer's.
I mean, obviously you get a better deal if you go through a provider, you know,
Yeah.
but that provider's also taking a
Get
cut
more
of their
coverage
money.
and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
You get referrals, you get all, you know, a lot more things. Okay.
More to come there.
I did have a question. With the Dell agreement, we're purchasing like laptops from them. Not sure if this says laptops on here, but the ones that we were using at the elementary school had plastic hinges, which broke frequently. I think my daughter had a loaner computer for an entire year.
Yeah.
So are we gonna, do we know if the hinges on the computer we're purchasing are going to be made out of metal?
We've only had one new Dell
Okay.
in the past year at Finch, and it was due to a drop.
Okay.
But Dell has the pro support and accidental coverage on it. So the only thing that would not be covered by Dell will be, intentional damage to the device.
Mm-hmm.
And Dell comes within a week to do the repair.
Oh, so this is completely different than what
It's
we've been
completely
using.
Yeah, previously, all the computers were purchased at a very low price. It was the cheapest option that was available with no warranty coverage.
Yeah, thank you, that's great.
It provides significant amount of support now so that things get fixed quickly. And I mean, the purpose is to not disrupt students as much as possible.
Okay,
thank you. Thank you, Ms. Coates. Any other questions? Moving on to board governance and regulations, presented by myself. It is the third and final reading for, again, a slew of board policies. Are there also the PSBA School Leadership Conference on October 18th and 20th, 2026 at Kalahari and Poconos Resort. And then also our Riverview School Board Treasurer for the 2026-2027 school year as required by Section 404 of the Public School Code. Are there any questions? Moving on to personnel. This will be presented by our superintendent, Dr. English.
Thank you, Mr. Paris. We have for your consideration next week, a resignation of a computer tech and the transition of that same computer tech over to Quest Tech. We are very excited to report we have potential REA teacher hires. We have computer science band, elementary and full long-term subs and gifted. We have an REA transfer from their current position to the STEM teacher, elementary STEM teacher opening. We also have REA supplementals for your consideration for the 26-27 school year as attached. We have the potential RESPA full-time custodian hire at the high school to fill a vacancy. We also have custodial summer student workers for your consideration for next week as well. We have for your consideration, the appointment, our annual appointment of our federal programs and administrator and homeless liaison, who is Ms. DeRochers, once again in the upcoming year. We have a varsity boys basketball coach, which we're excited about for your consideration, as well as other volunteer coaches. We also have unpaid leave according to board policy 339 for two separate employees. And we have changes to the superintendent contract, the third amendment, for your consideration for next week. as well.
Do we have all resumes attached here? Cause I'm not seeing some,
We just hired,
just have a couple more
yeah,
outstanding.
there's a couple more.
Okay.
The only one that you won't see by next week is the junior, senior high school English position that's going to occur next week.
And band.
Band you will have, we just solidified
Just found
band
that. Okay.
today.
Okay.
Like 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I still haven't recovered.
English probably in either the July or the August meeting, probably retroactively or.
Okay, so there's still a couple more.
One,
resumes.
there's only
One
one,
for
there's
next
only
week.
one more,
Okay,
left. You should have 6 out of 7 in your hands by next week.
okay.
We're trying to create some placeholders for those for you. We've been in overdrive, interviewing and trying to get ahead of the curve, trying to snatch up really quality candidates. We are very, very excited about the incoming class of candidates. They are dynamite. So we're excited about that.
Speaking of, this is not, well, it is kind of personnel, but it more falls under education probably, but the course catalog and studies, we're going to see updates for the technology with our new technology teacher.
Yes, yeah, and the program of studies for this,
sorry.
the comp sci teacher.
Nothing new this year.
Taking over current
Yeah,
comp sci.
things moved around, Dina had, what Glenn had, go.
So for next school year, we might see
Next school year.
changes.
The year after, we're looking at,
Sky's the limit.
Like AI programming.
oh, yeah, we have great ideas. The actual incoming candidate had some really good ideas as well, so we're looking forward to his vision, leadership when it comes to computer science, sure. Any other questions?
I just was also just checking the PDF, I think for that computer science teacher, I couldn't get to open unless it's just me.
It's just several things that are blocking.
It's blocked or something.
Yeah, I'm getting an 403 error.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to just try reattaching that for next week.
Just that one?
Yeah. Some of them are working on the side.
I don't,
Try it when you get home, because I'm on my mobile hotspot and mine are working.
I got to say.
Couple work.
I couldn't express me either.
Some stuff is opening, but that's not.
yeah, I opened a couple of them. I feel like I opened these at home and didn't have.
Yeah.
Paper.
Yeah, they were opening.
There's,
Anyway,
And
maybe board docs is like, your meeting should be.
so also for board members too, it will be, board docs will be changing soon. PSBA did not renew their contract with board docs as their major servicer, so it'll be slightly different, but all of the information will be
So
moved
we're not
over.
using Word docs anymore, or is it just a different provider?
it's different, it's a different program.
Yeah,
Rainey and I are getting trained on it on June 26th.
More user friendly.
So it does the same.
Well, supposedly.
So cute.
Supposedly.
That's gonna be my new.
I'll be able to tell you a lot more after
You
June
know what?
26th.
I mean, this is like,
This is-
some of
this
these things are.
This is a whole lot more user
No, I
friendly than
know,
the
I'm
piles
sure
of
it
paper
is,
we
but
used
it
to
is.
have.
It's
Like,
the board packet that got dropped off at your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much better than it used to be, but supposedly they're saying it's gonna be better.
All right.
Yeah, promises.
We will see.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for personnel?
Save the money, save the color.
Okay. Seeing none, I'm gonna move us on to student life. 2 items here. Booster budgetary outline for the 2026-2027 school year, the RABA, Riverview Athletic Booster Association, and 2 Model UN anticipated competition for the 2026-2027 school year. Is there any questions regarding those?
This one I can't open, but I do have a question. If we're supposed to read anything on that team information, you can't.
It's tough. It's handwritten on a lot.
It's like handwritten and super light print, so like, I don't know if that's important, but I definitely couldn't read any of that.
On the road.
I feel like we should do this every year.
Because they.
Yeah, anytime it's like handwritten like that, really light, like it's kind of illegible.
It looks like it's been scanned.
Yeah, or it was like handwritten and scanned over or something, I don't know. I mean, I can see all the other stuff that's in print, but just as a point of clarity, that's all.
You can ask them to provide darker copies. We might be able to mess around with it.
It's the new platform, we'll fix that.
You're cute, you're so cute.
It actually
10:07.
It actually came in pretty light. Yeah, I think just some of them, like, some of them are okay, but some of them needed
Like, if it's
dark-
not a big deal, it's fine, but for point of record, if we need to be able to refer to that, I definitely couldn't read it. Okay.
Okay. Thanks for putting that out. Any other comments, questions? Cool. Education, one item will be the disposal of the following textbooks, as listed. One copy will remain on hand as per policy 108. AP Psychology, which is replaced by the AP Curriculum and Exam Description, CED, which changed significantly. AP US History replaced because the CED was revised, with added topics in the new assessment and recent American studies, replaced during the curriculum and materials review last year. What is CED?
curriculum and exam description.
Thank you.
I also want to add a placeholder, it may or may not be on the agenda, but we update through the curriculum review process. We've updated our current ELA program K through 5 to addition 2 to addition 3, which is not much change, but there will be some sort of consumables and some other things that we're going to have to either find a donor or dispose of, because the edition 3 materials should be coming in hopefully before the end of the school year for the teachers.
Thank you. Any other questions? Last but not least, our board meeting minutes for our study session minutes from May 4th, 2026, and our regular voting meeting minutes for May 11th, 2026. Those will be asked for your consideration as well. Are there any questions regarding those? This brings us to our second hearing of the citizens. This is open to, again, all community members. I would ask that line starts over here. You would come up to the microphone. Please state your name, address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. This hearing of the citizens is for all school-related topics, so it does not have to be particularly on the agenda. Again, same parameters as earlier. I would ask that we continue to keep it really not personal, but robust in your comments, because that was really appreciated. Thank you.
3 lights on. Hi, Paula Tomlinson, 234 3rd Street. Thank you for Sheila's presentation. I always thank her because she goes into such great detail. When I came to this town 26 years ago, I didn't know anything about coming to school board meetings until my kids went to school and I heard people talking about it. So I joined PTO and I looked at the Riverview Reporter. I'm like, oh, look, there's school board meetings. Here's their calendar. And then I would go onto the website. And so as much marketing and communications as we have, it's also on us as taxpayers and home, to look for that information. So, I've been coming faithfully, like 10 years, 12 years to these meetings. And I like budget time. I like when folks attend. I like when it's not just me and Wendy Wilton. I like, because it just always is. But I appreciated, and I couldn't find the date, the Draw Collective did a thorough presentation without photos and all of our staff came. And that's something the public doesn't know about. You involved, 30 plus staff members from all levels to talk about their needs. And then the weight room, that was a large discussion a couple of years ago. There were still hurt feelings over that. There will be a room that those athletes can train in, plus other athletes. Dance as one is a popular elective for boys and girls who
don't want to take gym, whatever. So there's other things. If your child is ever hurt in a sporting event on our campus, they lay in a hallway to be taken care of while people are walking by to go to the restroom. I know that has nothing to do with education, but many of our students are multi-sport athletes. We have basketball games or any indoor sports and our referees have to change their clothes. They do it in a bathroom stall or in our AD's office. So our locker rooms, we've had issues with our locker room. Nobody showers in the locker rooms. There's like 200 square feet in 2 locker rooms unused. It's upgrading our facilities that will make us more attractive when, families come through. The counselors, I am on board for the counselors. I was my child's college counselor. And, we used word of mouth from friends year before, but that's part of being an advocate for your kid. Now, taking classes and not being able to get in classes, 2 counselors not cutting it. We had a substitute counselor last year, the year before, and it was a teacher who was sharing time. I'm on board for that. I'm excited for the new hires. I know you all spent a lot of time and energy and effort. I appreciate the educators on our committee, and all your different brains that come together to help these great conversations. I'm in favor of moving forward with a plan. The beautiful big glass, that was pretty. That was attractive. But yes, it could be adjusted, just like the cafeteria. But I appreciate us upgrading we should have had that since the 70s. So you're just trying to do something that wasn't done originally because they ran out of money. But I'll be here next week, God willing. But no, I feel like I want to defend, like, you just have to go onto the website or it's public a year in advance. Your schedule is put out. You all know you're coming and the minutes are on there. You now have it videotaped. We can go back and watch it just like we can do for council. So I just want people to be a little more proactive before they are reactive with saying, I didn't know about this. Well, I've known about it since last year, so anyhow, thank you.
Hi. Christy Bodner, 910 Washington Avenue again. First, I'm going to ask in advance for maybe like an extra 90 seconds because I practiced and tried to get this out in 3 minutes and it's just not going to happen. And also thank you again for staying so late. I did just get my bedtime reminder. So just a couple of things on, I want to thank you for sending on the RSD AI policy. On May 12th, I had asked via email for a link to the AI policy because my 5th graders started using securely AI and ChatGPT in the classroom. I haven't had a chance to review it yet, but it isn't accessible from the website. I think it's in Docs or whatever that is, board docs, but I can't find it on the technology page. And also want to mention that the Randy Weingartner, the president of the American Federation of Teachers, recently made recommendations on the use of AI in the classroom and wondering if the district will be revisiting the policy based on these recommendations. Also on May 12th, I asked in response to recent notifications of data breaches, also class action lawsuits for my 2 older children in terms of Naviance, but also there's a data breach with iReady. I visited the district's technology page to learn more about the type of personal data shared with our approved software vendors. So while Naviance indicates personal private data is depersonalized, iReady does not. iReady also lists that data like 504 plans, IEP, GIEP status, race, free lunch program participation, and migrant status is all information that can be collected when students are being registered. So I would like to know what data our district is sharing with these software providers, because we are a new generation of parents that are dealing with technology in a new way in our children's education. And we have to be making informed decisions about the information that's being shared about our children. And then last but not least, in that same email, I also shared some personal negative opinions about the frustrations and experiences our family has in iReady. Then I also realized, to be fair, that the conversations and what I shared with you were my opinion and were anecdotal and were perceived as being isolated and only a reflection of my personal opinion. So here's my 90 seconds. So to remedy this perception, I conducted a survey to understand other families' experiences with iReady. I sent it to as many families as I could via email. I did not put it on social media because I did not want it to get into the hands of students. In a matter of 3 days, I had 57 separate households respond. And I'm just going to give a high-level overview of the information that was collected and what was pertinent. I also sent the raw data in a spreadsheet, and the information was anonymized. I also sent 10 pages of written responses that was collected along with graphical data. But the summary was so 57 households between Verner 10th Street and the junior senior high responded. In response to the overall value of iReady, 63.8% of respondents answered that they found the value of iReady to be 1 or 2, which is low or no value. 70% of respondents answered, no, I don't understand how our district uses iReady. 24% of respondents answered, yes, my child has shared with me they answered questions incorrectly just to move on. In response to is iReady relevant to what my child's learning in school, 56.8 answered 1 or 2, low or no value. 22.4% answered 3, neutral. 13% answered some or great value. In response to has it improved my child's math or ELA skills because of iReady, 58.6% answered no or low value. 25%, or I'm sorry, almost 26% answered neutral. In response to, and this is not all of it, these are just like some things that are the questions stated clearly. 44.8% of people answered 1 or 2 with being disagreed completely. 20.7 answered neutral. Has iReady helped my child achieve higher grades in class or graded assignments? 65.6% answered unfavorably with a 1 or 2. Do your teachers, do you know if your teachers can review the individual questions that your child answered incorrectly? 75% answered they don't know the answer. 12% answered no, they can't review the questions, and 12% answered yes, they can review the questions. From what I understand, teachers cannot see the individual questions that children are struggling on. And 80% of those people who answered with an overall favorable response to iReady also believe that teachers can review the specific questions. I'm just going to read a few of the first lines of some of the written responses. Okay.
One line.
One
The best line. Save the best.
And you emailed this to us.
Yeah.
I did,
'Cause we will
but for
review
the
it.
people who are in here, iReady is a joke. It's a waste of time with no added benefit. It's the bane of our existence. And for a positive one, it does work for my daughter because my mother-in-law comes and tutors her and makes sure she understands each question, a benefit that most families don't have. So thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Nellie Thomas, 500 Penn Street. I just wanted to comment quickly. I don't want to keep us longer. But I didn't get a chance to fill out Christy's survey. So I just wanted to offer some counter to, I think, the summary that she had provided. I think my sons have benefited greatly from the opportunities that it provides. I think I have sons that are at kind of 2 different areas academically, one that tries to beat it every year The other one that we spend, you know, a half hour a night working through it and helping him understand, you know, different ways to approach it. And I think that's sort of the beauty of the program, right? Is that it's tailored towards their individual learning needs. When we've had or needed flexibility, given the amount of time it's taken, teachers have been willing to work with us on that and help us understand other ways to use it. So, and I guess I would just suggest that if there is an interest to better understand parental interests or understanding of iReady and its application in the schools, that, you know, Christie survey is one approach to it. I applaud her interest in trying to better understand it, but I think there's probably an opportunity to maybe like remove some of the bias that was included in the survey and consider, you know, ensuring that the distribution of the survey is representative of the district as a whole. So again, just wanted to share a little bit of a counter to that. And again, thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Any other citizens wishing to make a public comment?
I'm sorry, I'll be real quick. I know you wanna go home. I did fill out Christie's survey. I did feel like Christie was like anti-iReady, which like I hear that all the time from kids. My kids' friends are like, we hate iReady. There's like a 4th grade petition that they started, that they were like, get banned iReady. We hate it. My daughter actually loves it because she's a giant nerd like me. I'm a technology person. You should see my screen time numbers. It's crazy. I'm on computers for 100 hours a week for my job. I do think there's a middle ground, right? That like maybe there could be better education about the relevance of iReady, how those scores are being used, how they line up with curriculum. I think that would be like really educational for parents, especially if you want us to combat the 4th grade petition of why it's terrible. I also just wanted to like put a bug in everyone's ear. I'm sure you've heard about like LA Unified is like banning iPad screen time in the lower elementary classrooms, like K through 12. I don't think they've actually put limits yet, but the board did pass a measure saying it would be eliminated in K through 2 and then reduced in 3 through 5. And maybe you also saw that like Ken McMillan also just said no Chromebooks, no iPads K through 3. So
But they
also,
have to take this, sorry.
what do they have to do? No, tell me.
Phase online.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the PSA is online. I know, not great. So I just wanted to also throw it out there. Also, maybe like a benefit cost savings if you're not having, I don't know how many laptops we're going through with 6-year-olds dropping them. You know, a 7-year-old dropping the laptop, 6-year-olds dropping the iPads. I think the community is maybe feeling a bit of the pendulum swing away from early adoption of technology. So maybe just something for you to think about, kind of throwing that needle in. Could we make the technology work for our students a little bit better? And educate our parents a little bit better. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any others? Finally, we'll move into board comments for this evening. The only one that I want to make sure that parents know about, just in regards to one of the comments that was made, policies. All of our policies can be found on board docs. However, if there's encouragements to policies, that is definitely the time that I would encourage parents and or community members in general to come to our policy committee. I definitely welcome outside feedback and stuff. That was the push to make those committee meetings in the first place. But in terms of changing policy, I will say we usually take PSBA's guide on it because 1, we pay for the service. 2, there are attorneys there that are working through education law and or the veracity of education law or how it pertains to public schools. And so that's usually where our starting point is. It doesn't mean that we can't adopt something differently. So I encourage any individuals who want to be a part of that conversation to definitely come. But other than that, I also just want to say thank you to my board. We met earlier. I believe that we're going to meet for 10 minutes after this.
That was gonna be my question. Are we meeting just to understand what next steps are from that executive session?
Correct.
Okay, good.
Right.
Yes.
Cause I
So-
didn't understand like where
Yeah.
that was, but what do we do next?
Yeah,
Okay.
and before I talk about the executive sessions, or make note of them, I again just want to say thank you all for the time, the commitment, and the energy that it's taken to get us to this point in the budget process. I think this is probably one of the most detailed budget processes we've ever had. And so I also thank Dr. English and Ms. Hoover for their tremendous amount of help. Because we throw a lot of requests at our administration and expect them to do a lot with nothing sometimes. So I appreciate it wholeheartedly. Other than that, before we go, there was an executive session was held before tonight's meeting, starting at 6:30 PM, where we would discuss the park contract with the Borough Council, or heard information from them, and asked questions. We will be holding an executive session after this meeting concludes to discuss that forward contract amongst just the board. Are there any other comments for the good of society?
I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out and making your voice heard. And we even have like some students who stayed until the end, so thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes. Second.
Someone make it. Thank you.
We're just going on the phone over here.
Yeah, right now.
Adios, everyone.
Just a quick question.
It's for my other longer questions.
I don't know, like.
Voting on the.
Maybe it'll help everybody.
People from the site. Well, no. No, I am too.
The project.
Nice meeting you too, and no.
And being funded by taxes. For tomorrow. I.
But thank you. And thanks for work.
Thank you. Good night.
Just have a good night.
It's interesting when I choose you.
Julia, you did a nice job. Good work, really, really. Great job.
Oh, well, thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for, thank you. Thank you.
Monday is Friday.
Chris from Penn Street called me and said that he had to switch,
Oh, okay.
and he was gonna cover tonight. I was gonna do next week, and then I don't know if there was some kind of miscommunication, because I was like, sure, that's no problem. And Dr. Turk calls me and says, are you here? And I'm like, he was like, I was like, Chris was supposed to be there. He was like, "He's not here." I was like,
I just wanted to give her a hug.
Yeah.
I figured.
Absolutely. Lot going on tonight, so I appreciate you.
Don't worry about all this. They're cleaning it up in the morning.
Okay, so I don't have to.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm leaving.
Thanks, Kim. Kim, you made those, I made a couple notes on sort of the tech page,
So did I.
AI, privacy.
Yeah.
We can,
Yep.
let's
I did.
debrief. We
I
can
have a
debrief.
sheet that I was using before the ed tech, which actually showed rostering student data that was actually being passed.
Great.
So I'm just gonna
Perfect.
update it. So, yeah, I guess I can turn it on.
Deal. I'm coming.
I got it. I'll take care of it. Yep. Thanks.